Your Omaha area forecast from the Godfather's Pizza Weather Center and KETV News Watch 7 on 1620 The Zone.
Patchy freezing fog this morning will give way to mostly cloudy skies for your Thursday, staying seasonally chilly with a high this afternoon in Omaha of 33. Winds remain light out of the southeast up to 10 miles an hour. Light winds continue overnight, staying cloudy and chilly with a low of 26. I'm meteorologist Caitlin Harvey with KETV News Watch 7.
1620 The Zone. Traffic.
From the Zoom Drain Time-Saving Traffic Center. No accidents or slow-moving traffic to report quite yet in the 5 o'clock hour on this Thursday morning. But just as a reminder, westbound on Center between 114th and 117th is closed the next few weeks for some water main repair. If that's part of your usual route, remember to stay safe, wear those seatbelts. I'm Peter Krunzer.
This time-saving traffic was brought to you by the Nebraska Lottery.
The Nebraska Lottery has raised over $950 million, which has helped to provide more than 117,000 college scholarships, save wildlife habitats across the state, and fund new facilities at the Nebraska State Fair. The Nebraska Lottery, helping to build a better Nebraska.
Email unsportsmanlike conduct on the Equitable Bank Zone inbox with whatever is on your mind, from your hot takes to what you think is one. The Zone inbox is brought to you by Equitable Bank. We take banking personally. We want to hear from you on the Equitable Bank Zone inbox.
I'm Taylor Bishotti with NFL Network Now on the Westwood One Radio Network. The 2024 Pro Bowl rosters were revealed Wednesday night exclusively on NFL Network. And leading the way, the San Francisco 49ers. The NFC's current number one seed led all teams with 9 Pro Bowl selections, including running back Christian McCaffrey. The Ravens had the second most selections with 7, including quarterback Lamar Jackson. For the complete Pro Bowl rosters, check out NFL.com. In other news, Jaguars quarterback Trevor Lawrence practiced for the first time since injuring his shoulder back in Week 16. Lawrence was limited, but is hopeful to play in Sunday's potential division-clinching game against the Titans. The Buccaneers say quarterback Baker Mayfield would not have practiced Wednesday if they held a full workout due to a rib injury. But the quarterback says he's doing everything he can to play Sunday. The Bucs would clinch the NFC South with a win in Carolina. This has been NFL Network Now on the Westwood One Radio Network.
Paid actor portrayal.
I didn't see it coming. Life can be so unpredictable. After losing my dad, it made me think about my family if something were to happen to me. The mortgage, car payments, and all the other bills. Even things like our annual summer vacation would be out of reach. I had heard about life insurance through Ethos and how easy it was to get coverage. They were right. I knew it was time to stop putting it off and get life insurance right now. I got on my computer and went to ethoslife.com. In just 10 minutes, I was covered. And boom, family protected. Thanks to Ethos, my family won't have to worry about the bills if the unpredictable happens to me.
Ethos, fast and easy online term life insurance. Up to $2 million in coverage with no medical exam. Some policies as low as $1 a day. Answer a few health questions and get your free quote at getethos.com. That's GETETHOS.com.
And now another no-brainer money-saving tip from Progressive.
That doesn't sound good.
The paper shredder's jammed, but I think I fixed it.
Oh, well, try shredding these $50 bills then.
Seems like it's working.
Better try another $400.
Stop. Instead of using money, use regular paper. And here's a better tip from Progressive on how not to waste money. Don't pay too much for car insurance. Drivers who switch and save could save hundreds. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Potential savings will vary. Not available in all states.
What's holding you back from learning the language you've always wanted to know?
Too hard.
Takes too long.
Not with Babbel. Babbel's lessons take just 15 minutes a day.
15 minutes isn't long.
Nope. And they're fun. So you don't realize you're learning a language, but you are. In 3 weeks, you're able to start having conversations. And Babbel's lessons are built around real life.
And with Babbel, it isn't hard.
It's perfect.
Start learning a new language today. Go to Babbel.com. That's Babbel.com.
Sure, you could go elsewhere for your health and wellness products, or better yet, why not just come to 42 Degrees? Those other places don't even come close to the wide variety and premium disposable e-juice, CBD, Delta, Kratom, glass pipes, vaporizers, and other great products. With the friendliest, most knowledgeable, and professional staff who will find the right products just for you. If you're looking for a one-stop shopping experience, look no further. 42 Degrees. By your mom's house.
Nicotine is an addictive chemical.
Is your phone plan messing with your savings plan? Don't get stuck paying for things you don't want. With Verizon, you only pay for what you need. And for a limited time, when you bring your own phones to a Verizon store, you'll get an amazing price on your plan. Plus, you'll save on things you actually love, like the Netflix and Max with Ads bundle. And it's on our award-winning 5G network. Bring your phones to your Verizon store today for an incredible deal. A better plan to save is Verizon. Additional terms and conditions apply.
Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Subscription required. Price varies based on product and subscription plan.
Hey guys, did you know there's a generic form of Viagra that works just the same, but is 95% cheaper? And you can get it online? Just go to hims.com/radio. Through Hims, you'll get a free medical consultation, discreet shipping if prescribed, a 100% online process, and trusted generic alternatives to the name brands at up to 95% off. That's right. Get generic for Viagra, the same active ingredient as brand name Viagra, but for 95% less. It's the same medication, still prescribed by a licensed medical provider, but with zero copay, no expensive appointments, and no awkward face-to-face conversations. To start your free online visit, you need to go to this exclusive address, hims.com/radio. That's hims.com/radio for your free online visit. hims.com/radio.
1620 The Zone.
Here's Tominaga, baseline jumper for two. You can see that coming because Johnson has drawn the assignment coming out of the locker room. There's Mass. He's a good high post passer, and he finds Lawrence underneath. There's that backdoor cut. Box out of the bigger man by Bryce Williams. Now Lawrence, transition three. That'll fall. His first from deep tonight. Almost 3 minutes. Where do they go? Good active hands because they had Mass on the dive. Good active hands by Renew. Tominaga from way back with his second three of the night. 10 to shoot. Williams will go after Xavier Johnson. Now to Lawrence. Back to Williams for three. Backed it home. The window is open on a chilly night. Lawrence through all kinds of traffic. Drops it off to Tominaga for two. And they put the freshman Cups has to go through here. They set that screen, the double screen. He's able to get through that, but he gets caught on the wrong side. He gets caught watching the basketball, and Tominaga showing you his basketball savvy. Keep men moving. He made 7 of his last 14 from deep. And Lawrence, what a scramble. Tominaga for three. Count it. Oh, my, in the scramble. The Huskers find three. You get rewarded. He moves as well without the ball as anyone you're going to see, not just in the Big Ten, but nationally. And when you're feeling it, Kevin, Nebraska, you don't want to exhale just yet. No. Alec backs it out. Lawrence will try the deep three, and he'll hit. What a big bucket for Nebraska.
Live from 50th and Capitol Avenue in the Big O. This is Mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone, 1620thezone.com, and 1620 The Zone TV. Now here's Gary, Nick, and Jimmy.
All right, I'm not saying it, but I got in the car this morning, driving here, my short commute. It was good to see the 3 ladies that walk along Cumming Street, because I was worried on Tuesday. There were only 2 of them, and I thought something happened over the break, because we always meet. Like, we give a head nod.
Older ladies?
Yeah, older ladies.
Yeah.
They're out walking early in the morning. So I'm driving on my short commute to work. I see the ladies walking. And I don't know if this was intentional. It was not one of our radio stations in this building. But turned on the radio. Guess what was playing? I'll buy one of you guys lunch if you can tell me what was playing when I got in the car this morning to drive to work.
Red Kingdom.
Well, since you're talking about the old ladies
my
walk,
phone getting ready for next week in the playoffs.
I thought maybe it was "Walk This Way" by Aerosmith because you're talking about the old ladies walk.
No, no.
Doja Cat.
No, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this, but I'm going to.
I'm a believer by Smash Mouth.
Michael Jackson. Can you feel it?
It was on the radio?
Wow. It was on the radio.
That's really.
I'm telling you.
That was the first song.
I'm telling you. I'm not telling you, but I'm telling you.
It's the first song that came to my head, but I'm like, there's no way that's playing on the radio.
I've heard it. I've heard it, and I've heard it more often. Like in the last couple of months, I heard a lot more Michael Jackson.
Was someone playing it in honor of last night?
So I kind of want to contact the program director, the music director at that station, and say,
"Are you allowed to play that?"
Nebraska basketball fan?
Yeah.
I also now in my head have this phrase. I want Pavelka to say, "Bring that team to Omaha." Good morning, everybody. What a night last night at Pinnacle Bank Arena. The Stars were out and the buckets fell and Nebraska blew out Indiana. Indiana
blew them out.
Yes. And now they're 12-2. I like it because everybody's going, well, that's the best 14-game start since blank, and I can reminisce about my 90s Nebraska basketball love affair, and I can mention DePriest Owens and Rich King and those kind of guys. But last night at Pinnacle Bank Arena, as Tominaga did what Tominaga did, I think if you're 1890, you make sure that the family doesn't leave the country. I don't know, can you stay here for a while?
Why not?
Sure.
It's warm.
Yeah, I mean.
Who's going to take the Tominagas out of the United States?
Don't let them leave.
Just keep them here.
Yeah.
Davison, put some money
at
together.
least through next week for the Purdue game.
Buy him a house. Okay, and then make sure that the masks stay as well because they were both there last night.
Yes, they were.
And, Casey, is he back? We'll discuss that a little bit later. But Tominaga has a Pinnacle Bank Arena. The crowd is going. I play into it night where he gets on a heater and he ends up with 28, but he has a flurry of points. And Nebraska, from start to finish, they were in total game control against Indiana. Indiana had trouble turning the ball over. I expect if you're going into Russ's Bakery at 17th and Washington today in Lincoln, Mike Woodson is behind the bakery counter. He's handing out apple turnovers, but they are dressed like Hoosiers. Okay?
So they're striped.
Thank you. I've worked on that. By the way, that Indiana team is okay. I mean, Ware is a legit guy.
Yeah,
he's
good.
a legit one of the top players in the
good.
Big Ten. They got some issues. They're very inconsistent, and they can't guard like they did last year. But there is something about the candy stripe pants.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
they take you back there.
Hello.
It does.
Hello. And that kind of added to last night, kind of the atmosphere and the way that Nebraska won the basketball game. But I was thinking, Hoiberg we don't have this discussion about Fred and his job status on January 4th.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people thought 6 months ago that would be the case.
Yep.
And you'd already be putting a list together and wondering, does Dana Altman, will he commute from Wilbur or will he actually move to Lincoln? I'm kidding. I saw Coach Altman when he came back for the holidays in the Epley Airport. But there's the addition of Mast, who I hope that knee feels good this morning because he put 30 minutes on it and you wouldn't have known. There's the recruitment of other players, making sure that Tominaga came back. But all I could think about watching a game like that last night, and if you think I'm going to go overboard, I am.
You should.
Is that team, and that was a team victory last night, the pieces of a Mast and a keeping Tominaga and other recruits that Hoiberg has brought in, they don't matter. They do not matter to Nebraska basketball. You know what has mattered to Nebraska basketball? Sam Griesel, Derek Walker, and Josiah Alec. Because Nebraska basketball has made the transition in, year 5 of Fred?
Mm-hmm.
They are easy on the eyes because they're likable, they play hard, and they play on the floor.
Yeah, they're familiar. Even though some of those guys haven't been on the team for more than a year, they're familiar.
We got rid of Cam Mack and Teddy Allen. You hated Nebraska basketball.
Yes.
Fred made a mistake. Okay, he openly admitted he made a mistake on how he constructed his roster with it being more important in the locker room to the bench than it was on the floor. Now, that's what he has done.
Yeah.
He went floor, and then he went bench and locker room, and that was wrong. And he had guys that we didn't like. We hated those guys, okay?
Mm-hmm.
We threw Alonzo Verge through the ringer, even though Verge had a nice little career briefly at Nebraska, but he was one of those polarizing guys. They don't have polarizing guys. They have likable guys. I mean, C.J. Wiltshire, who I said yesterday, watch out, he might have a big game, Nick. He was good early on when they needed him. But CJ Wilcher has kind of become likable.
Yep.
It's quite the transformation, and they're 12-2. 12-2 after the win against Indiana last night.
The CJ Wilcher part is, I think, a big part of what you're discussing here when it comes to likable. So when he stuck around, there were so many times last year we're thinking, okay, when's he hit the portal? When's he hit the portal? Or is he just going to be done with basketball? And it was odd. He never did. And then you kind of learned a little bit more about, okay, with the point guard situation, the Eula situation, it's another guy that obviously isn't going to play point guard for you a whole heck of a lot, but is going to give you more depth with the guard. But he knew, and I think everybody knew, that he wasn't going to play a lot, or at least he wasn't going to be in the starting rotation. Guy's got an important role, and it seemed like he accepted that. And you could see him at the end of last year. And this is where I think it's important to bring up Greasel and the culture, the Derek Walker, and the culture that was built, because he kind of embraced that role at the end of last year, where he's going to come off the bench. He's going to be able to provide something. I think going into the season, knowing that that's what his role is going to be and fully embracing that, that's a weapon for Nebraska. And, hopefully the back is okay too. But what he was able to do and pick up from where he left off last week, I think was fantastic. But it's a team that you watch Josiah Alec, who did he even put up a shot last night? And
which was fine.
Yeah, it was.
Because he knows his role.
Exactly.
Best hair on the team.
And the dude's all over the floor. I mean, he's putting dents on the floor all over. And one of the best parts of the night was, because he's a bit of a woeful free throw shooter, he hits 2 of the flagrant shots. It's got his arms extended up in the air after the second one. I mean, like those are examples of likability. With it's not like he was showboating, but like he knows he's not a great free throw shooter. He's at the line by himself. He hits both of them. Hell yeah, he's going to do that. I mean, there's a lot about this team. I mean, even Casey, he hams it up is more than anybody, to the point that it sometimes worries me that he's not going to actually be back on defense, or he's not going to be able to, on the next possession, his guy's going to blow right by him. But does anybody get into the crowd more but says less after the game? I mean, there's a little bit of a language barrier there, but he's like the quietest guy off the floor, but one of the loudest dudes on the floor too. And so there's a culture
to the media. I've heard he's a prankster.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, he's.
Oh, I could see that.
I'd like to see that.
But yeah, the part about the team. So we know here around Nebraska, this is the thing about living in this part of the country, and it's Nebraska nice. And a team could be not a winning team, but if they play hard, and especially if they play defense, it seems like we're attracted to them. We'll give them the benefit of the doubt. Like back in the early part of Fred, we hated that team. We absolutely hated those guys. Some of those guys were the nicest guys in the world, but because they were affiliated with some of the headliners on those rosters who were, zeros, and they just gave off a terrible non-team vibe, you're like, I can't stand this team. Last night and how they have evolved, and it's not just 12-2 this year. I mean, Nebraska basketball is 18-5 over the last 23.
Yeah.
And a majority of those games are Big Ten games. It's not like you're playing, College of Biblical Studies 3 times. They're 18-5 over the last 23 games. But they've made the transition, and this is good on Fred, because I think Fred realized it, whether he thought, well, he had to know that his job was on the line, and he had to do something, but he was also miserable.
Mm-hmm.
And they changed the makeup of this, where they're easy on the eyes for a fan to watch. They're good at what they do, and they don't try and do too much. This is an older group that could have gone south after Minnesota. They haven't. They've won 5 in a row. And I think last night was a team win. And if you want to, join me to go all in. Because at 12-2, and I laid out the scenario, if you got to get to 20, and there's certain areas where you have to win, I'm not afraid to say that if they don't get to the tournament, and on them, I mean, maybe they get screwed at the last moment.
Yeah.
But if they don't get the tournament, I think you crossed the barrier last night where you would be disappointed.
Yeah. Oh no, absolutely.
And it's crazy because you got back-to-back very difficult games. You go to Wisconsin on Saturday. You got number 1 Purdue on Tuesday. That if by chance, and it will not be easy in the Kohl Center, if by chance you win on Saturday, it's the biggest game in the history of Fred Hoiberg at Nebraska against number 1 Purdue next Tuesday night. But you have 3 of the next 4 on the road. So I get the hesitancy. But if you want to join, go ahead. This is your morning to join, to be all in on a 12-2 basketball team that has the feel of, man, they might have gotten the recipe right.
Yeah, and I think part of that too is if you look at the Big Ten, and we've talked about this a little bit here the past week, is it's not this log jam of elite teams too. So, I mean, there's that part of it that if anybody's watching the Ohio State-Rutgers game, that Ohio State team's kind of in a similar situation where, all of a sudden, they look good. Rutgers is an athletic team, but I mean, again, you look at some of the tiers throughout the Big Ten, and you're like, okay, it's not so taxing that you're thinking Nebraska couldn't find themselves in the middle of the Big Ten somewhere. What they did last night, it was impressive, but if you start putting the expectations out there right now,
go ahead.
This is where
bring that team to Omaha for the NCAA tournament.
And I said yesterday that I want
that line to come out in March.
It should be. Don't tempt him. He will. Getting to that point of trusting this team, and I think if you now go back to the worst moment so far in 14 games for Nebraska, it wasn't Creighton, in my opinion. It was the second half of the Minnesota game. And the problem is we'd seen that before. Maybe not that ugly in 20 minutes, but it was bad. I mean, it was really bad. And so you're thinking, all right, kind of gave you a little bit of a fun start, but they get smoked by Creighton. They completely collapse in the second half. Like I at one point maybe should go back to my Twitter feed and emails after that game. And the amount of people, oh yeah, here we go again. Who's going to be the coach next year? I talked about changing the narrative yesterday, and that takes time. I mean, they're still so early in the Big Ten season, but last night and what they've done since that second half against Minnesota, and even in some ugly wins, like an ugly win against North Dakota. Okay, that's fine. It was still a win because, again, you're avoiding that incarnate word moment. So there's already data, evidence that they're kind of changing the narrative a little bit right now. And last night was another huge step in that.
I give credit to Fred. Fred has been a pinata. Fred's made some mistakes along the way. But Fred has taken more hands-on with this team and really the last 2 years. But I'll give him credit. And last night showed. And again, Indiana, I mean, Indiana's losses have been to UConn, KU. I mean, they got some good losses. Yeah. And now Nebraska's on that ledger. And
I watched them against Kansas, and they looked good.
So, but they are inconsistent. They don't play. They have trouble keeping guys in front of you on defense. But with that said, you still can't play at their level if they're having a bad night. And Nebraska last night did not play at their level. That's a sign to me of a team that's mature, that has shown some growth. But I give credit to Fred. Not if Fred hasn't gotten a lot of credit. I'll give credit to Fred because what Fred did, not only with the chemistry on the roster of getting guys like Griesel and Walker, who are team guys that don't care they don't want their points. I mean, for Fred to succeed at Nebraska, he's got to find guys that don't walk in the door and go, when am I going to get my 15, coach?
Yep.
When am I going to get my 15 every night? He's gotten guys that walk in and go, hey, can we just win? I mean, I use a prime example. And Omaha men's basketball last night got a huge win. They rolled in the second half. They beat Northern Arizona. And if you're not watching him, and I don't know why more local people don't talk about him, it's crazy. But I guess if you're a local player and you play in-state in basketball and you do really well, you get ignored. But if you go somewhere else, you get a lot of attention. Frankie Fiddler is on one. Okay, he is on one. But there was, and he's now in his junior year. We don't know if there'll be a senior year at Omaha. He may have an opportunity to go somewhere else. But while he's here, he loves playing at Omaha. And he said something the other day because he's on this incredible run. He's got 3 straight games over 20 points, and he's clearly one of the top 3 players in the Summit League with Zeke Mayo of South Dakota State and Tommy Bruner out of Denver. Is, like, hey, what are you doing different? And he goes, I just want to win. I just want to win. That's what I'm doing. I want to win. And I think that's what Fred got to the point of, I want to win. And he found guys that say, hey, I want to win. Josiah Alec, why are you coming? You have opportunities to go somewhere else and get to the dance, and you know you're going to get to the dance. Why do I want to come back to Nebraska? Well, I want to help Nebraska, and I want to win. Sam Griesel said the same thing last year. So credit to Fred because he's found the recipe, and he's built his roster with not only the character guys, and it helps to be a little bit of an older roster.
Yeah.
But also, he's found guys to build his roster that are versatile, that can play numerous positions on both ends of the floor, can switch with ease. And, I mean, they're in a really, really good spot. The next 3 of the 4 are on the road, and the gauntlet picks up. But, man, to be 12-2 and not really have a hiccup outside of Minnesota, you got to give the head man a lot of credit.
Yeah, I think that's a fair point. And I always talk about this with, we talk about college football and sidelines and body language. And you'd brought up when we were talking about Creighton the other day, is everything okay with them? And watching the way that Nebraska interacts, just watch them after every loose ball, every whistle, when they get together. I mean, it does seem like even when they're down, not, everything's fun when you're winning, especially at home. But it's a group that it seems like they do genuinely enjoy each other. And I think that goes a long way, because when I think of some of those Fred Hoiberg teams of the past, of the Iowa State teams, there was a lot of blue collar dudes. You think of George Niang.
George.
Exactly. George Niang, Naz Long, Matt Thomas.
They were damn good.
They had a bunch of guys that athletically didn't necessarily pass the eyeball test, but they were in a system that they believed in. And kind of back to, I don't know, hearing them say this specifically, but back to your point about guys that just wanted to win. Well, I think they had that part. They believed in the system that they were in. Fred knew how to get those guys. And then he would add maybe a guy or two from the transfer portal, but he would have a core group of guys that bought into it, and they were very likable. I mean, even for, probably Jimmy, you could probably weigh in on this for Kansas fans that had a lot of tough matchups against those Iowa State teams. It was hard not to look at favorite. It's hard not to look at those guys and be like, man, I hate those guys. They're so, they're just a bunch of jerks and stuff. Like, they're a very likable group because they were like, Naz Long is one of the most not Naz Long. George Niang is one of the most unathletic dudes, yet his role for those Iowa State teams, so I look at
the year they won it in Kansas City when they knocked off Kansas in the semifinal, then beat Baylor. I mean,
they were consistent.
Yeah.
I mean, they were talented. Don't. I mean, I think
their style was fun.
When you go down the road, people think, well, you're just kind of sneaky athletic wide receiver.
Mm-hmm.
They were talented. They were consistent night after night, and they played hard, and they played their roles. I mean, I think that's to bring up what kind of the blueprint of Iowa State.
Yeah. When Fred was hired here, that's the style I pictured. And
they all had a role. They bought into it, and I think that was a huge issue with Fred early on here. You're absolutely right. It's guys that wanted their minutes. They wanted to be seen, and the outcome was secondary. You could totally tell. I mean, you bring up Teddy Allen, and that, like, did anybody really the night that I think it was against Rutgers where he threw a 40-burger in? Did anybody really celebrate that? Of, oh, this is awesome? Not really, because
they had guys. I mean, I've gotten to know Teddy, but you had guys that wanted their points.
Yeah,
and
it was more about that.
And he's found guys that, everybody liked to score. I mean, Tominaga would like to have 28 every night.
Right.
But he's found guys that they just want to win.
And thus they're likable.
Maybe the communication has been better of, hey, this is why I brought you here. This is what I want you to do, instead of, hey, welcome to Nebraska. Go get us, 17 every night.
Yeah.
Their communication is a lot better. They're just, I keep going back to they're easier on the eyes. Now, they've got some tough games upcoming. I don't get the sense, because I think they're mature and they haven't ridden the roller coaster, is you don't anticipate like a drought where one loss leads to another, and then all of a sudden it's 3 of 4, 4 of 5, and you're like, oh, I don't sense that there would be a pothole they would step in. But the next couple of games are going to challenge them, and they're going to need some dudes to make some shots, and they just can't dive on the floor and out hustle guys, because you're going to play a Wisconsin and Purdue team. That's what they do, but they're easy on the eyes. That might be the biggest accomplishment of 14 games, in my opinion, for Hoiberg, is they're an easy watch, because I'm here to tell you, I've watched a lot of Nebraska basketball, and there are players that I would have bought a ticket and driven to the Greyhound bus station to get out of town. They don't have those guys, and they haven't had those guys for a couple of years, and I think that's why they're engaging with the fan base, and you can let yourself go after a game like last night and go, wow, this might really happen. This might really happen in year 5.
And it was funny. We talked about this yesterday about them being a favorite. I mean, they were, but did anybody go into the building last night feeling that, like fully embracing that? Yeah, Nebraska's the favorite. They should win this game. No, you wanted to see if they could win this game. If Frank Mast is healthy and he's playing, how's this team going to look? Can they win the game? And you bring up another part of what I think is another chapter of the discovery mode of this team is not only how they handle success within the conference, but how do they handle adversity? Because I do want to push back a little bit on some of the people who said that Creighton had beaten them twice because of that second half against Minnesota. I'm all about how you come out of the gate after a loss like that. And remember that first 20 minutes that Nebraska played against Minnesota, that's why that second half was so disappointing, because they collapsed. But they came out where it felt like they'd flushed it, where I think they got a little too comfortable. And then all of a sudden, before they knew it, they were in a dogfight and they had no response whatsoever. I mean, they couldn't rebound and all these other things were happening. I don't think Creighton had anything to do with it. I don't think the Creighton lost. So I don't even necessarily say that Nebraska, they've already shown that they can't handle defeat, well, they can't respond well. I thought they did for 20 minutes in that game. So here's this is a really interesting situation that they're in, where you are going to always tough place to play in the Kohl Center against a Wisconsin team that does a lot of those same things.
Bring your own Kohl's Cash.
And yet you're riding some momentum in there. And now you're going to have to try to see if you can duplicate that, but do it on the road too. Like there's a lot to kind of take away from how they play. And I don't want to give them a safety net saying if they lose,
they're going to lose. They're going to lose games.
Yeah.
I mean,
but I'm talking about this weekend. Even if they lose the game, but how do they play the game? Do they look overwhelmed at moments? Do they look, do they look like they're lost? Because that's the other thing is when you talk about it's an easy on the ice team. You watch them, how connected they are defensively. There was a lot of that last night that showed up. And you've seen that more times than not this year with that team. I can't say that about this team in previous years. Offensively, you get an idea of what they're trying to do. The fact that Casey had a big night last night, but hasn't necessarily from a scoring standpoint had huge nights, but they're still winning. Those are all good things. Does that offensive consistency and visibility continue to be seen even in a loss? Like, are they still sticking to the principles that when they win games and then they lose games, those things are still there where exactly what they're trying to do and they just get beat one night? Like, that's kind of what I'm curious to see about them going forward.
Hey, Jimmy, get Seamus on the phone. Well, I need to figure out when Tominaga's family is in the States, what is his numbers compared to when the family is not in the States?
They
something tells me Rob Anderson would have a complete breakdown of that.
I think they posted that graphic last night.
I don't know if Seamus would.
He's averaging over 15. I think it's just over 15
when the parents are there.
Yeah, that graphic post.
So Vegas needs to know this stuff.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was like 15 and a half.
What?
You got to keep him here.
What is Nebraska's record when the other rock star is in the building?
When Dylan?
Yeah.
They won that game, right?
So last year? They 2-0?
I think they are 2-0.
He's already changing everything.
Didn't he go to a women's basketball game?
He did, and they won.
After he committed?
Yeah.
And they won?
He did.
Jesus.
Wrestling, did they win the duel that night? He went to the duel?
They did.
See?
They did.
Jesus, Dylan.
He's changing everything already.
He needs to be back on Tuesday.
Yeah. 12-team playoff next year. Pencil him in.
He understands his role. We'll talk about that because all of a sudden Dylan Raiola showed up yesterday to recruit.
Mm-hmm.
Flew in from Atlanta.
Yep.
What is going on? But they have a legit football star. They have a basketball star here, and they both embrace their roles. What is going on in Lincoln? Welcome in, everybody. The morning after Nebraska beats the Candy Stripe Pants people. And Mike Woodson saw his post game.
Former Kansas City King, great.
Yeah, he's. I don't know. I think they're in an interesting spot with their roster. They got some injuries. Man, they can't hold on to the basketball.
Yeah,
they were never in that game. And they forgot about Tominaga. I mean, maybe guard the guy.
Yeah,
I know he hasn't been consistently good every night. And that's kind of been on Tominaga's end. But how about guarding him? They just, I don't know, Nebraska punched him early. That's the thing. Like, UConn punched the Creighton women early, and Creighton women went back into the locker room, and UConn blew them out. mean, that's what Nebraska did last night. They jumped on Indiana. That was impressive. But Mike Woodson was kind of at a loss after the game. I noticed he was not happy.
Yeah.
Oh, what was it? 19 turnovers?
Yes.
It's a lot.
Yeah, it was 19 turnovers, 27 points off of those 19 turnovers. And yeah, it was the first thing. I mean, when he was asked about it afterwards, what do you guys do against a team like that? What do you do better? And that was the first thing he brought up. He's like, well, turn the ball over 19 times would be a good start.
All right. Often running on a Thursday.
Should have worn my Nebrasketball hoodie.
Do you even own one?
I do.
Surprised you're not wearing anything Kansas today.
No.
Have you gone a couple of days without wearing anything Kansas?
Well, yesterday was when was our first day back? Had to wear
Tuesday.
it for the football for the bowl win, but yeah, football season's over. So
now you're going black today. Is there a reason why?
Black's a state of mind, as the great philosopher Jerry Glanville once said.
Wow.
Okay.
Appears to be you're in a dark place.
Yeah.
Permanently, yes.
All right. On Mornings with Sharp and Handley and Jimmy here. Coming up a little bit later on the lineup brought to you by the Rooferys at John Higgins Weather Guard. Boy, the three guys that worked the Omaha game last night. Whew. Rough game. Sarah Baker Hansen stops by for the first time in 2024. My man came over during one of the timeouts to check to see if he got a call right.
Oh, no.
Did he check with you? Because that's even funnier when they check with the radio announcer.
No, but I said to somebody, Omaha.
That's rare.
Omaha spends a lot of time in the non-con on the road, and you run into Big 12 officials or other mid-major conference officials of guys that'll never work in the Summit League, and you kind of expect it might be one-sided. I think we got the benefit of that last night.
Oh,
now Omaha played really, really well, but it was
30 points?
It was three Summit League guys working, and two guys that are relatively new.
They went to the monitor to see if they got a call right.
Yeah, during one of the timeouts, the guy just wanted to look at the monitor to see if
check
I
my
got
work?
that call right.
Hey, look at that.
Yeah.
Look at those guns.
Steve Sipple joins us at 8:30, and then Brian Edwards at 9:45 with his. Oh yeah, he wanted to see if he got the call right
because that monitor when I did PA was like right next to me, and I've never seen that.
Yeah, they weren't because I was confused because they went to look at the monitor during one of the timeouts, and I was like, wow. We went
a clock
to
thing or something?
No, we went to a media timeout on a ball that was deflected out of bounds.
Yeah.
And it was pretty clear who deflected it.
Yeah.
But they're looking at the monitor, and then I found afterwards that the guy just wanted to see if a call like 4 minutes ago, if he got it right or not.
Can you go back?
What are we doing? What are we doing? All right, that's a lot of
Trust
brought to you
your
by the Rooferys at John Higgins Weather Guard. If you're in a building last night, hey, there's another thing. Nebraska, outside of Creighton, and Creighton's the best team that Nebraska's played. They got absolutely hammered, but they did not go into a spiral, after the Minnesota game, which was the following game. They are protecting their home court. So whatever you do, you got to win at home.
Think about 2014 when they went.
You won
that
at
was
home.
One thing.
You won at home.
Yep.
If you were there last night, you watched it, you got thoughts, or you're down at Sokol, you're over at Baxter, a good night of ball. Now we shift to football, whether it be the last weekend of the NFL or we're going portaling. We have a wish list as Nebraska is active. Anybody that was in Lincoln last night, yes, they put on the dog and pony show for a recruit. The stadium was lit up like it normally is. They should give that option to normal fans.
I know.
Like you should be able to pay for an experience at Nebraska, and you get the recruiting visit.
Yep. NIL.
Where they take you out in the middle of the field, and you can put on the uniform, and they take pictures of you, and then they turn on the light show in the stadium.
Remember those old pictures they used to sell? The Packers welcome so-and-so.
Yeah.
They like that for Nebraska.
You get the boom box if you want.
Trev wants to raise money, for the stadium. Sell
There you go.
experiences.
Right there.
You can be a Husker.
Remember they did that for the 100-year anniversary of Memorial Stadium where you could they had a day of you getting pictures out in front of the entrance.
Yeah.
There was like a 4-hour window or something, and I think the pictures were free.
It could
Well,
be
you
like
don't make
when
them
you-
free this time.
It could be like when you had your own cardboard cutout, only with real humans.
Well, you could still go to Shields and have that cardboard cutout, put your head above the jersey, and it looks like you're.
Well, now do it in the
Memorial
stadium and contribute to 1890 that way.
They can't.
That would be a good thing.
They can't have those like stage pictures of kids sitting on the throne. They could have Husker fans sitting on the throne.
Yeah.
It'll only cost you $50. It goes to enhancing your seat in the South Stadium.
Where's the throne though?
It is.
I feel like they got rid of it. didn't
No, it's in storage.
It is in storage.
Have Matt Rule
Bring
do
it
a
back.
Brian Kelly. And just,
Oh yeah, do awkward dances.
but for an extra fee. because
Well,
nothing's free.
Yeah, you could add in
They
that
could do
rule.
that. That Heisman room is pretty cool.
Huh?
951-1620. That is the 42-degree source hotline. If you'd like to chime in, you got thoughts on a plethora of things. If you had a picture taken with Dylan Raiola last night, we'd like to see it, and we'd like to hear about your experience.
Did you point? Did he point?
Now, no longer do you have to say, hey, come on, be a Husker. You can say, can't wait to watch you now. That's kind of weird.
And creepy.
Because usually he represented hope of like, oh, man, I hope he chooses us. Now it's like, boy, I hope he's going to be good.
Right arm ready to throw for 2,000 yards. Looking tough.
Husker Twitter was going to break last night. You had two of the most recognizable male student athletes at Nebraska were in the same building. And one of them is in, and he's not going anywhere.
Yeah, that's right. We're not trying to woo him.
You can always email us into the Equitable Bank inbox, Gary at 1620thezone.com.
And Handley at 1620thezone.com.
Or let's play on Twitter today. Let's get into a fight. Let's fight about something. Let's fight about Stanley's or something like that.
You pissed off the Iowa people. Well, you had an assist from some account, but people
Again?
were tweeting at the show yesterday.
About what?
I don't
About
know.
Iowa?
Yeah, about whether it's okay of winning 10 games.
That was 2 days ago.
They all run together this week.
Yeah.
Either way, I'm still getting tagged over here.
Iowa, you won 10 games. You got rid of your offensive coordinator.
Success.
Your basketball team is 0-3. It's been a long time.
Caitlin Clark had a buzzer.
It's been a long time since they beat Nebraska.
You got Caitlin Clark, though.
No. 10-win season. The games that mattered that were against good teams, you didn't win. How was that a good season?
You weren't close.
Iowa fan.
You won 10 games.
I wouldn't be happy with it.
I would be.
You would be?
Yes, I would be. Because you were so god-awful offensively, and you did enough to win 10 games.
I'd be angry as a fan. I'm like, man, we could have been better.
Well,
could have been better.
There's the other part of that, sure. But this is also coming from somebody who hasn't seen a bowl game since 2016, too. Myself.
Great. Hang a banner. You next to the NFC South, you won a division title in the worst division in the history of Power 5 football, the 23 West Division.
Yep.
Just focus on 22 playing basketball for you.
Yeah.
Okay. Or that Oregon quarterback that is visiting.
Uh-huh.
Who is running Iowa football?
I know. Who's going to be the OC? Maybe it is Scott Frost.
All right. J-Tech Construction Zone Twitter feed. Yes. Let's go on a Thursday. Let's get after it. At Gary Sharp 1620.
And Nick Haley 1620.
All right. Off and running. Sarah Baker Hansen, Steve Sipple, Brian Edwards, all part of the show with you on a Thursday on 1620 The Zone.
Mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone and 1620thezone.com with Gary Sharp and Nick Handley. Big names, big games. We've got them all. 1620 The Zone.
There's, there to be, beginning, there's help us, they're, being there.
This is Nikki Haley. Look, I'll just say it. Biden's too old, and Congress is the most exclusive nursing home in America. Washington keeps failing because politicians from yesterday can't lead us into tomorrow.
Nikki Haley, a new generation of conservative leadership.
We need term limits, mental competency tests for politicians over 75, and a real plan to defeat China and restore our economy. I've long said Biden's not going to make it, and a vote for Joe Biden is a vote for President Kamala Harris. Republicans need to leave behind the chaos and drama of the past with a new generation and a new conservative president. I'm Nikki Haley, candidate for president, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Nikki Haley for president.
Hey everyone, Josh Peterson here from my friends at Kugler Vision. As we move on into 2024, I know so many of you out there have New Year's resolutions for what is next. Why not a resolution for improved vision? At Kugler Vision, they can change your life in a matter of minutes. It was 6 years ago when I went in for my consultation, the beginning of 2018, and then I had the procedure done that February, changed my life. 6 years later, so happy that I made that decision. You can do so today. Go to their website, kuglervision.com.
The Zone Hotline is powered by 42 Degrees, The Source, by your mom's house.
Cards issued by Sutton Bank and Celtic Bank, members FDIC. Terms and conditions apply.
Are you the decision maker in your company? Consider this. For the first time in decades, there's a better option for a corporate card and spend management platform. Meet Ramp, the only corporate card and spend management system designed to help you spend less money so you can make more. Most corporate credit cards offer points as incentives, But those points amount to less than their worth in real cash value. Ramp's corporate cards offer you cash back, real money in your pocket. Plus, you control who spends what with each vendor. And Ramp's software collects and verifies receipts automatically, which means you'll stop wasteful spending and close your books in hours instead of days. Businesses that use Ramp add up to 5% to their bottom line the first year. If you're a decision maker, adding Ramp could be one of the best decisions you've ever made. And now get $250 when you join Ramp. Just go to ramp.com/sports. Ramp.com/sports. RAMP.com/sports.
John Henry's Plumbing, Heating, and Air is now open in Omaha, and we are looking for experienced plumbers and HVAC technicians to join our team. We offer company-paid employee health insurance, provide a company truck with innovative technology, and so much more. We will have open interviews Mondays and Wednesdays at our new location, 9321 J Street. Learn more at calljh.com/careers or call
435-5555. John Henry's Plumbing, Heating, and Air. Now back to Mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone.
All right, you got me thinking about the Iowa fans.
Should always be thinking about it.
Love me some Iowa fans. Got way too many that I'm related to. Just kidding.
A lot of friends that are Iowa fans. And two of my closer friends are Iowa fans.
Don't have anything against Iowa fans. Unless the one guy that was going to completely quit Twitter, I know what his real name is, but he got under the skin. After 2 years ago when Nebraska won in Iowa City, when he going to shut down Twitter? When he going to get rid of it? And he never did. So he keeps, after Iowa beat Nebraska this year, he got back engaged.
Yep.
That's where you can tell, like the Nebraska fan base, football or basketball, they got a social media presence. Like you can feel it. And football.
I see what you did there.
Football is what you're, Nebraska sooner than later hopefully becomes relevant. Oh, there are a lot of receipts that are probably being kept.
Oh yeah.
But I like the banter back and forth. But I'm going to be nice to the Iowa fans because you know what you can do? Your love of Nebraska. You come over here, you vacation in our spots. All you people in Western Iowa, you don't go to Des Moines for a weekend. You come to Omaha. Admit it. You like it. You'd rather come to Omaha for a weekend than go to Des Moines.
Ooh, I like that. I think it's true, too.
That's true. I mean,
it's true.
We don't have Adventureland, but you still come over here looking for adventure. Okay?
I miss adventure.
I was doing the math. So the Iowa women play Nebraska on February 11th at Pinnacle Bank Arena. It's a noon game.
Nooner.
Yours truly will be there. I purchased tickets. They were not cheap. If I'm doing the math correctly, kind of on her pace, Connor Happer may be part of history. Because Caitlin Clark could break the all-time scoring record for women's basketball in Lincoln on February 11th. If she stays on her current pace.
You should say it very monotone.
Would that be,
she's at 30 a game right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Would that be uncomfortable?
That would be uncomfortable.
Like, what do you do? I mean, that's a huge moment in the women's game. If it was on the road, and especially at a place like Nebraska, she's got tons of family she's got smart family because they live on this side of the river.
Yeah.
But, she gets extra engaged playing against Nebraska.
She's in Nebraska High V's.
Yes. Like, what do you do? That's a monumental record. You have to at least acknowledge it, even though it's not one of your players, right?
You
Connor?
do. There's the Nebraska nice part of that too. God, I am all about everything that is Caitlin Clark right now, except for that. Do that somewhere else. That would just be weird. It really would be weird.
I don't think you could say, hey, do it somewhere else. Hey, you know what? You
take
need
the night. Do it at home.
You need 27 tonight. Hey, Lisa Bluter, when you get to 25, can you pull
her?
her?
Especially if you got a game at Iowa City. Let her do it in front of the home crowd.
We're down by 2. Nope, take her out.
Just do it. No, do it somewhere else. Come on. Don't. No, I can't get enough of the Caitlin Clark craze. Even the first awkward State Farm commercial. But that's one thing where I don't want to see her breaking it. Yeah, I don't want to see that here. Like, I would love to watch her play and go off, but where she even puts up like maybe a 30 burger, 35.
Then does a selfie.
But she comes up just short.
You don't think they'd stop the game?
I think they would.
No.
Yeah, I think they would. I think that would
And
be
these are
something.
great Connor questions.
I think, wouldn't they?
Dylan Raiola would come on the floor. And take a picture with him.
Matt Rule pointing at her. And
I think they would. You have to.
But I was doing the math, so it could play out that way. Into the Equitable Bank inbox. We got to give Sam some love here.
Don't do that. Oh no, I wasn't talking about Sam. I'm just saying don't do that here in Lincoln.
wow,
Don't do that in Lincoln.
I've actually known Sam for a while. I'm very disappointed that Sam had to move away, moved to the West Coast. But Sam was a local bartender. But Sam, before Nebraska football, was a diehard and still is a diehard Nebraska basketball fan. Okay, we exchange a lot of thoughts on hoops in Lincoln, and Sam is doing well right now. He sends me this email. Not much to say outside of my visceral reaction. They are a team. If they keep playing like this, they won't be an 11 seed, but they'll be a 5 to 6 seed. Just seems different given the history. They'll get a 5 and lose to a 12.
Oh, I got you.
So that is the profile of Nebraska basketball fan. I say go all in right now.
No matter what you're waiting. No matter what you're waiting for them to shoot.
Go all in right now. Hey, I'm prepared. Okay,
you've seen it.
I may not put on the cod piece or not because I'm getting up there in age and I'm not really interested in having kids right now.
So you'll take the swift kick to the nuts.
If I take that one, you know what? I don't know what it's going to do. I got both of them.
It'll hurt.
I mean, you only need one.
It always hurts.
If I got to get rid of one, that's okay, but I'll take it. I'm expecting it. But that's kind of, hey, this is great right now. Riding the wave. It was exciting last night.
Yeah.
Man, can you think about, will I be the first on the floor to storm the court against Purdue, or I be the second? But then it's, oh boy. Well, March was fun. That's kind of, is it? But they, we talked yesterday, is that more important to their NCAA resume or the optics of the fan? And I said fan, and I'm feeling it more because, all right, I'm ready to go all in.
Yeah.
Because if they don't get on the cusp of a tournament now at 12-2, you're going to be like, what happened? And then the narrative and the discussion shifts back to Fred. So I get it. Lego Maniac writes in, and the Lego Maniac has ridden the roller coaster of what Nebraska basketball is. He reminds us what Hoiberg's record in the first 4 seasons were. 7-25. Ooh.
Yeah.
Remember that year. Thank God that Frost was around. We still had football.
There was hope.
7-20 in the COVID year.
But they missed the entire month of January.
And then 10-22.
I remember when they surpassed 7 wins that year. Like, cool. Sweet.
Then last year, found a way to win 16 games. Now 12-2, 14 games in the season. Nebrasketball has already surpassed the win totals from Hoiberg's first 3 seasons in Lincoln. I'm not claiming that they are going to that they are some great team or anything, but they are showing clear progress. I think we can all agree on that.
Yes.
Even if you can't stand Nebraska basketball, and because of Barry Collier, you became a Creighton fan or a KU fan. Okay, you can agree that they have shown progress.
Yeah.
And it's not just this year. Wrap your arms around. They're 18-5 in the last 20. We're talking about Nebraska basketball.
Yes, you saw it at the end of last year.
And 3 of those losses are the pound your head into the wall loss in the Big Ten tournament to Minnesota. Back-to-back losses to Minnesota, and then you had no shot against Creighton.
Yep.
Nebraska's next 3 games are quad 1 games, so they could very easily drop all 3 of them. Here's the Nebraska basketball mindset. One last night, feeling good. But, man, they could drop 3 in a row. They could lose to Wisconsin, Purdue, and Iowa.
And we're back.
But after that, things should level out for them again. My hope was over this 4-game stretch, they would go 2-2. They jumped out 1-0 last night. I hope they can go 1-2 and finish the 4-game stretch. So let me give you some metrics. You ready for some metrics?
0-3.
Yeah, that would be, well, and the back end of that 3 would be in Iowa City next Friday.
Yes. That would not be good.
I mean, you can't lose to Fran McCaffrey. I mean, Fred Hoiberg is on a roll against him.
That's right.
So I think this has been updated. Nebraska's net is at 64. I think we're about a month away from really paying attention to the net rankings. But they're sitting at 64. I don't know if it's a big deal to me or not, or to you guys. If they win on Saturday, they're going to be ranked.
Yes.
I don't know if I'm going to be like, oh
they
my
will
gosh,
be.
Let's run around town with our shirt off.
Be a little chilly.
So Wisconsin on Saturday, Wisconsin is 10-3. Purdue comes to Pinnacle Bank Arena on Tuesday. They are number 1 in the country. They are 13-1. By the way, Wisconsin is ranked. And then you go to Iowa for a weird 8:00 Friday night game.
Mm-hmm.
Boy,
Busch Light will be flowing.
those people at Iowa City High and Iowa City Central, they're going to be pissed. Iowa's playing on a Friday night.
Fridays for the hoops.
Then a tricky game because you go out to the Jersey Mike's Arena, where the post-game spread is Jersey Mike's.
Nice.
Not delivered by Danny DeVito.
What was it
I
before
like those
when it was just the rack?
Delivered by Tommy DeVito.
Yeah, we were talking about how Tommy DeVito needs to team up with Danny DeVito on that, by the way.
Oh, no, keep them separate.
Do you think so?
Yeah,
I
you
think it'd be a
keep
lot of
them
fun.
Don't get his agent involved because then he'll not show up.
Isn't Jersey Mike's always raising money for something?
Yeah.
Yes, they are.
Okay.
Yes, they are.
And then
Good on
you honor Danny Nee.
Mhm. Gets Northwestern.
Neil get on the mic at halftime.
I swear.
And
7-second delay.
He'll say, "I love you effing fans." But then here's a tricky.
Will he ask, is it okay if I
So
swear?
this stretch, this is a defining stretch for Nebraska basketball. If you're like, Sharp, you're crazy, man. I'm not getting all in because I don't want to be hurt. Okay. Broke up with my girlfriend on New Year's Eve. I don't want to get hurt again.
Come on.
Okay. I'm not,
Come
I don't want to
on.
break up with my basketball team.
Be
but
ready
I
to have
don't-
your heart broken again.
I mean, I want to have a relationship where we're not married, but we live together. Okay. I'm not ready to get married yet.
Roommate.
But maybe after this stretch and there's still momentum, you'll be like, it's real. At Wisconsin, Purdue, at Iowa, at Rutgers, Northwestern at home, then Ohio State. Oh, by the way, Chris Holtman, a little bit on the hot seat. They're 12-2.
Yep.
That was a good win last night at home against
yes, they
Rutgers.
did.
Then you go to Maryland. Okay, Maryland at home is much different. Then you come home on February 1 for Wisconsin again. Okay. So everybody will be booing Chucky. And Chucky will put a 25 burger on Nebraska.
Yep.
But Nebraska will win because that's what they do against Greg Gard because you cannot have smarmy guy win in Lincoln.
So they're 19-3 at this point.
And then
Smarmy guy.
before the schedule lightens up with Michigan, you go to the State Farm Center with a discount double check against number 9 Illinois. And then you stay in Illinois. You go to Chicago and you play at Northwestern. So maybe I'm ahead of pushing the narrative. Maybe you want to get back to me on February 8th. But that's a long string of games for Nebraska. That is 10 right there. That if you wake up on February 8th and there's still momentum,
it's on.
You go 7-3.
You are fully hussed and you don't care
Yeah.
when spring football starts.
You're 19-5.
It's a lot of games you threw out there, though.
Yeah,
I mean,
but there's
that's a lot of games.
But there's challenges for
There are.
Nebraska in that stretch.
There are very unique challenges. Going back to the Lego Maniac and the mindset of the true Nebrasketball fan too. This is what I love about the difference between now football might be there now, but if you go back 15, 20 years ago, you get off to a good start and you start to it's easy to look ahead and it's easy to start to throw out the expectations for basketball. Like at what point will it take for this team? Like what does the record have to be where people are like, oh yeah, this is happening. Like they're going and I'm good.
17, 18 wins in the regular season, and there's still games to play before you get to Minneapolis.
19-5 after that 10-game stretch.
That's
I don't know who the wins and losses.
The difference between this is why I always say the expectation level, the job as the head coach at Nebraska hoops, and coming to play there. If you're someone who maybe gets distracted by unrealistic expectations, this is why Nebraska basketball it's like the best job because you could be 12-2 right now, like they are. And I'm not saying like Zach is alone because I still have that hesitancy. I know a lot don't still kind of have that.
No.
Don't worry.
You guys aren't joining me. Let's go all in. All in, baby. Bring that team to Omaha.
But even as you recognize
Nebraska
improvement,
basketball playing on Creighton's home floor of the NCAA tournament.
I'll go all in.
Ooh.
I'm in.
What if they have a higher seed than Creighton? No, I'm just kidding. But
no, stir.
I've been hurt many times in my life.
Ready to get hurt again?
I'm ready to get hurt again. But on January 4th, nope. I'm ready to ready to assume the position.
You sound like me as a Kansas football
like
fan.
what would if it's 12?
This is why I'm all in on Nebrasketball.
If it's 12-2, what's like the equivalent for football? The record would it be like 7-1, 8-1, or something like that?
Unbeaten going to Madison.
Yeah. So yes,
in 2016,
and where all of a sudden your
hopes,
hopes, your expectations are sky high. Yet Nebraska 12-2, there's still people who are like, Yeah, we'll see how long this lasts. And it's been like that. I mean, for football, that might be the conversation now.
This is why there'd be happy tears if they won a tournament game.
You don't have to worry about unrealistic expectations with this product. That's the great thing. You can do everything under the radar, but they'll come out and support you too. It's great.
Here's what we do. Okay?
It's great.
Here's what we do, especially in our business and sports talk radio. You make a proclamation and then you forget about it, months later, and you're like, oh, well, that's what Nebraska basketball does. I was just trying to, I get some people engaged. The Rev on Twitter says, starting a fight with an Iowa fan and then saying, doing the math is A+ trolling. Thank you. And on cue, here comes Iowa JD.
Yep, there he is.
That'd be nice. Iowa JD and I are going to an Iowa-Nebraska event next week.
Oh, yeah?
Nice.
All right. You guys going to wrestling?
Yeah, we're going to wrestling together.
Watch some wrestling?
Yeah.
All right.
And then him and I are going to wrestle.
You should.
Go out on the mat.
Yes.
Mark Manning said, hey.
Guys, go ahead.
Come on down.
Yep.
Iowa JD would kick my butt. It's amazing what playing a 300-plus non-con schedule, how well that makes a team look.
They look good last night.
Hold on.
Snyder's schedule.
Before I respond
JD,
to that,
they look good last night.
Before I respond to that.
Oh, I see what you're doing.
Oh, I was checking if he was talking about Iowa.
Is theirs a 200?
Their non-con was 203.
Yeah.
Are
we splitting hairs here, dude?
Well, I mean, Nebraska's, hey, what are you talking about? Nebraska's non-con strength of schedule was 183.
Oh, the non-con. Yeah, the overall strength of schedule.
Overall strength of schedule, Nebraska is 103. Iowa, why are we talking about Iowa? They won a game in the Big Ten. Nebraska's won 2 games. Their strength of schedule is 107. We'll see you next Friday.
Yes. In the 3s. It was actually in the 3s. Was it before the Indiana game? The overall strength of schedule, according to Joe Lunardi, was 330-something.
A little bit later, we'll talk about Tominaga's night last night. I heard his story. I need some help. There may be a Japanese flavor in the city of Omaha.
Oh, yeah?
That surrounds Tominaga, who went on a PBA heater like he has done last night to score 28. Also, Nebraska has a big portal weekend. And more on our discussion yesterday. Nick and I and Jimmy were all talking about wide receivers at Nebraska. We were talking wide receiver 1. Let's talk elite wide receivers. We'll do all of that. Sarah Baker Hansen, Steve Sipple, also Brian Edwards, all to join the show on a Thursday at 1620 The Zone.
Mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone and 1620thezone.com. Live from the Host Coffee Studio, this is 1620 The Zone. 1620 The Zone. Traffic.
From the Zoom Drain Time-Saving Traffic Center. Happy Thursday morning to all of you out there. No accidents or slow-moving traffic that should be impeding anything or causing any delays as we get closer to the 7 o'clock hour, but a dense fog advisory has been issued for Douglas County and surrounding areas. So as you head out for your morning commute, just be aware of that. Visibility could be limited. Stay safe and wear those seatbelts. I'm Peter Krenzer.
This time-saving traffic was brought to you by Zoom Drain.
Zoom Drain's highly trained team of experts and our fleet of well-equipped service trucks are dedicated to providing solutions for homeowners, plumbing contractors, mechanical contractors, and business owners across many industries. Contact Zoom Drain anytime by logging on to zoomdrain.com.
The Serve Nebraska Volunteer Service Commission was created to ensure that community service would always be a priority in our state. I'm Governor Jim Pillen, and this year, I'm inviting you to help celebrate Serve Nebraska's 30th year by becoming a volunteer. Our state's best resource is its people. You have the potential to make a significant impact. Thank you.
Sponsored by Serve Nebraska, aired by the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
Hey there, Greg Wagner joining you from the Nebraska Game and Parks Commission. Time now for another Outdoor Nebraska update. It's hunting time in the Husker State. For a safe season, remember to be totally certain of your target and your background before you fire that shot. In a moment, ask yourself, is the bullet flight path clear? Is that a legitimate target? And what am I going to hit if I miss my shot? Please be careful out there. If you'd like more information on hunting safety, go to outdoornebraska.gov. That's outdoornebraska.gov. From wildfowl to owls, Great time of year to step outside and watch wildlife. Many animals are still active, plus the leaves have mostly fallen, vegetation is set back, and we'll have some warmer weather. Maybe you'll hike a state park trail or head to a public reservoir to do that. Oh, and don't forget your camera. Oh, it's on your phone. That's right. I'm Greg Wagner.
What's holding you back from learning the language you've always wanted to know?
Too hard. Takes too long.
Not with Babbel. Babbel's lessons take just 15 minutes a day.
15 minutes isn't long.
Nope. And they're fun. So you don't realize you're learning a language, but you are. In 3 weeks, you're able to start having conversations. And Babbel's lessons are built around real life.
And with Babbel, it isn't hard. It's perfect.
Start learning a new language today. Go to Babbel.com. That's Babbel.com.
Hi, everybody. I'm Gary Sharp, voice of Omaha men's basketball. The Big Sky Summer League Challenge continues as the Mavs go on the road this Saturday to take on Idaho State. We'll be on the air with a pregame show at 6:30 on 1180 The Zone. Tip-off 7 o'clock for the Mavs and Idaho State.
KOZN Bellevue, Omaha, Council Bluffs. This is 1620 The Zone. And we're back. Mornings with Sharp and Handley. Here's Gary, Nick, and Jimmy on 1620 The Zone.
High school basketball at the Metro Conference Boys Final. Bellevue West rallies from 8 down to win going away, beating Omaha Central 75-57 last night at Creighton Prep. They improved to 10-1 while Central's 9-2. On the girls' side, a quick start led to victory from Millard West on Wednesday night as the Wildcats moved to 10-0 with a 60-45 win over Omaha Central in that championship game. It was Millard West's second tourney title and first since the 14-15 season. Nebrasketball's 12-2 after they bury Indiana 86-70 last night at Pinnacle Bank Arena. Keisei Tominaga scores a season-high 28 points with his parents in attendance. He hits a season-high 4 3-pointers, including 3 in the second half, as he fell 2 points shy of his career high and helping Nebraska build a 22-point lead before cruising to the win. The 12-2 start matches Nebraska's best 14-game start since 1990-91. It's a good time. They next travel to Madison for a 1:15 game against the 21st-ranked Badgers. The Nebraska women's basketball team will hunt for its second Big Ten road win when they visit Wisconsin tonight at the Kohl Center in Madison at 8 o'clock. The Fighting Flans are hammered by UConn 94-50 before sellout crowd at Sokol Arena. It's the Jays' worst loss since joining the Big East 10 years ago. Afterwards, Flan with the line of the night. I'm going to need something a lot stronger than water to digest that one. At 10-3 overall, 1-2 in the Big East. They'll try to pick up the pieces this weekend at DePaul. In the opening game of the first ever Big Sky Summit Challenge, Omaha leads for nearly the entire night as they defeat Northern Arizona 81-55 at Baxter Arena. They're back to 500 on the season as the team moves to 8-8. They could win the NFC South with that record. Frankie Fiddler continued his hot streak as he turned in his third straight 20-point performance, shooting 5 of 13, going 10 for 11 on free throws. 22 points. Tony Osborne scores 14 while recording a team-high 3 steals. Nick Davis scores 13 and also paced Omaha with 8 rebounds and 2 blocks. The Mavericks play their second and final game of the Big Sky Summit Challenge Saturday night when they are in Idaho Falls to face Idaho State, so not in Pokey. The Omaha women fall
30 degrees. I checked the weather.
That's pretty
channel.
good.
Yeah, that's not bad. It's just below freezing.
Yeah. Yes.
You'll be fine. You'll be fine.
You've been to North Dakota. You've been to South
You guys
Dakota.
probably got
Can't
some
be
good
that bad.
Omaha cold weather gear, travel gear.
I've seen some of the hockey coats, so I know they exist.
Yeah, you'll be
fine.
The Omaha women fall at Eastern Washington 96-82 to fall at 4-10 on the season. After flying back from Spokane today, they'll turn around and play Saturday afternoon at 2 o'clock against the Grizz of Montana at Baxter Arena. Brock Purdy and Tua Tagovailoa were selected to the first Pro Bowl on Wednesday as the starting quarterbacks for the respective conferences. Purdy is the first 49ers quarterback to be named to the Pro Bowl since Jeff Garcia in 2002. Tua is the
Former first Omaha Nighthawk.
Tua is the first Dolphins quarterback to be named to the Pro Bowl since star of Ace Ventura, Pet Detective, and Isotoner Glove spokesman Dan Marino in 1995. It's the first time 2 starting quarterbacks are the first-time picks since the 99 season when Pro Football Hall of Famers Peyton Manning and Kurt Warner were chosen. Purdy was one of 9 players picked from the 49ers, who are the NFC's top seed. The 49ers had the most players selected. Baltimore and Dallas each have 7. I don't know what's going to matter in the end.
Yeah,
it's going to make for a hell of a flag football game.
Okay, so there's a couple of snubs.
Yeah,
Antonio Winfield Jr.,
yeah,
Josh Allen, and then I will tell you, Snead from the Chiefs, if you look at the elite wide receivers that he has been matched up with this year, he has locked them down. How is he not in the Pro Bowl?
Yeah. Antoine Winfield, especially in his ability in the box as well. Like and we saw that in Minnesota as well. But yeah, that was, I don't like to get into like the whole snubs, but that one for me, I know safety's a tough one to maybe sometimes be able to differentiate as far as like who stands out. But if Winfield's not a Pro Bowler, I would like to know why then, I guess.
Oh, man, can't play in the flag football game.
Well, I think, and I know that probably Snead will be added, and
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there'll be the guys that'll opt out. Maybe not as much as in the past because they're not playing a game. But I don't know. I was kind of, I don't pay a lot of attention to the Pro Bowl, but there were a couple of significant snubs yesterday. Good for Millard West, as Jimmy mentioned. The Millard West girls who won the Metro tournament yesterday over Central, they are 10-0. Neely Gessert is a baller. She's an absolute thrill to watch. And then Bellevue West, which in a year of parity in Class A boys basketball, with Bellevue West is starting to make a statement. I'm going to hate that I'm going to see him playing for South Dakota State. And Jaden Jackson's a dude.
He's a guy I need to get back out and say. I was impressed with him at State last year, just kind of watching them, and even with Dotzler, but he was everywhere.
I hear that Bellevue West students rushed the floor at prep last night.
Awesome.
Good. That brings meaning to the Metro
That's
Holiday
right.
Championship.
It's back, baby!
For people that were asking yesterday as I went down memory lane, I was not here when they played at SAP. Or they played at Sokol.
Yes, they did.
Kyle
yeah.
Erickson told me last night that when he was at Millard South, they were playing at Sokol.
See, I didn't remember that. I do remember them playing, I want to say at least a year, maybe two at SAP. That was kind of in the I think that was like post-Civic. Because after the Civic, it was kind of, I'm trying to remember if they did go high school a few times, but they were trying to look for a venue. And I think, SAP was like, all right, we'll have it for a year or two. And so yeah, it's had its different venues. It's had its different stays, but I'm with you. I think I get costs are what they are, but I think having it at the arena, just having experienced it myself in the holiday tournament, playing in a venue, playing in an arena, especially for
like it should be in something.
Well,
like
I played for a team that wasn't going to go to state. Okay, that just wasn't going to happen. So that was
that's kind of harsh.
We were bad. Well, they were it was Millard West's first year. We won one game that year, and then we won 3 games.
Coach?
Rick Hook.
How come Rick wasn't recruiting?
Recruiting wasn't a thing back then.
By the way, today there could be, as people are going back to high school, I mean, we have Portal Day on this show on May 1. Mm-hmm. There could be some surprises of some pretty good football players that have changed schools over the break.
Mm-hmm.
I'll make new friends.
Well, I mean, Chase Lofton from Millard South is going to Millard South.
Yep.
Wants to win a ring. Millard South preseason #1 in Class A. Talk amongst yourselves.
Yeah.
West Side people are on line 1 to talk to us.
I would.
Rick didn't recruit?
Nobody did.
Like everybody's been recruiting.
This was like 95, 96. That wasn't happening.
Dude,
the only one.
Alden Mason lived close to me, but he was going to Lincoln Northeast. Everybody recruited.
The only one that
Rick Calera was ahead of his time. Rick Calera was a hell of a recruiter at Lincoln Northeast. Dude, he locked down the city of Lincoln.
But what was Lincoln's?
State of Lincoln.
Did they have like open enrollment?
Who knows?
Okay, because that's why I was always confused in Lincoln.
I was just excited for super teams.
Yeah, the only person that we always wondered if he was recruited because he lived so close to the cutoff of like where Millard South, Millard North was Crouch. Because
he was good.
He was supposed to go to Millard South.
He turned out okay.
And then he went to Millard North. But I'd love to see the holiday tournament in an arena, because it was, again, for teams that you have zero shot, you get to just play one game.
It's like the All Valley Karate Tournament.
Even if you're like 0 for 10 shooting, because you can't shoot into like the arena, into the open air.
Cavernous.
Like it's just so weird. But it's so cool.
It is they've got to get a monster sponsor, because there are costs involved with rental and things like that. So they need a big, like an F&BO or a Woodhouse, two major local corporations that like high school sports, that would invest, and then invest enough so that they could have, wrestling and, basketball, and I don't know what other major Metro Conference tournament they do can be at, like a cool venue, like Metro softball. Wouldn't it be cool to have it at the place where you have the state championship now at but they need a major sponsor, because this is all financial.
And I think even like baseball being played at like Warner or being played at, even a Tal Anderson for the Metro tournament would be pretty cool too. Yeah, it's a good thought. It's just, if you want to enhance that experience, that's where I don't think of the teams that are going to be in Lincoln in the postseason. I think more of the teams that are not going to, because again, I experienced that. It was so cool. I mean, we knew this was the closest thing we were getting to Devaney as far as playing in an arena. So you soaked it up. It was a very neat experience.
Hey, keep an eye on today. So Creighton men back home on Saturday to take on Providence, and Seton Hall. Hello. Their defensive intensity last night on the road at Providence, and they beat Providence.
Ooh, like the PJ days.
They're and the end of the game was atrocious. I mean, it was just bad offense on both sides.
No.
Yeah, he did a LeVar Arrington.
The judge was ready to send that guy to the jail, and so he
Terry Tate, corporate linebacker.
Yes.
UNLV's looking to see his eligibility.
Sorry about that. I was listening, but then peripherals caught. Oh, what the hell am I looking?
But Bryce Hopkins, terrible knee injury. It appeared last night in that game. He's having an MRI today. He had to be helped off the floor. That's something to watch because Providence, who is currently ranked, got beat at home last night, and they come to Omaha to take on Creighton on Saturday afternoon. How about Villanova? Villanova's 3-0, and they've won 2 road games.
Yeah.
Kyle Neptune.
Going to be quite the interesting year in the Big East of who's going to be fighting for the top spot. Got to protect your home court.
Yes, you do.
As they say.
Yes, you do.
Thanks, Jimmy. Coming up a little bit later, Sarah Baker Hansen stops by. We got Steve Sipple and Brian Edwards as well. We got a lot to talk about Sip. I haven't talked to Sip in a long time. We got to catch up. I wonder if he went and had dinner with Dylan last night.
With the Riolas?
Yeah.
Because he was there with Donnie, too.
That is crazy.
And Trev.
Now, I guess we have to be fair, so you can praise and then you have to be negative, right?
Mm-hmm.
He really screwed Nebraska over by not committing until December.
Yeah, think about that class.
That's a very selfish move, Dylan. You couldn't have done it earlier?
There's the takeaway here.
Why didn't you have clarity earlier?
I mean, do you realize what kind of recruiting class Nebraska could have put together?
It's true.
I'm kidding. I'm being sarcastic.
Are you?
Okay.
Are you?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Because you might be able to put a better recruiting class together when you have actual results.
That's true.
Like kids see you play and they're like, man, I want to go play with that dude because that is the dude.
Yeah.
But it is amazing that he flew in to recruit for Nebraska.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there's a guy that is like, you know what? I'm not messing around my first year. I'm the quarterback. We got to build in our wide receiver room. Coach, you got wide receivers on campus? I'll come meet them. You need us to throw routes in the stadium? I'll throw routes. Can you do that?
Sure. Why not?
I mean, most of these portal guys that are coming in, Nebraska's got some nice targets this weekend. It's you come in. These guys don't want to be, they don't want to be wined and dined at Misty's, okay? They don't want to be taken to some frat party, okay, and then go upstairs with a co-ed.
They've seen it. They've seen it. They've been there.
Been there, done that. Some of these guys are married and have kids. Okay, they've been in college for 16 years. They just want to come in. They want to meet with the head coach. They want to see the facilities. They want to look at some film. They want to hear about NIL, and then they want to go home. They're not for the, hey, all right, hey, look, this is the dorms. This is kind of cool, isn't it? No, it's they want to know, what are we doing?
Yeah.
I want all business. I'm in, I'm out, and I'm making a business decision. But oh, by the way, the quarterback of the 24 team just flew in. Hello, man. We are a long way from realizing what an impact we might have on our hands. And that could really be a good thing. All right. Sip's coming up a little bit later. Brian Edwards as well. It's Mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone. Hey, the NFL regular season is now down to week 18. So it is wrapping up before we get to the postseason. And there's still time to get on all the action with FanDuel, our good friends. It's America's #1 sports book. Right now, new customers, you can get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place just a $5 bet if you're a new customer. That's $150 in bonus bets, win or lose.
And in 2024, this is a fun time to be taking a look at FanDuel because they got a lot of new additions to that very easy-to-use app with a couple games on Saturday, then on Sunday. Make sure you're checking those lines on who is in and who is maybe sitting. Whole wide range of betting options. Some of the new things you can enjoy, too, is they have their parlay hub as well. You got spreads, over-unders, and much more. It's a great time to join FanDuel. Make a parlay in the parlay hub. It is the best way to find popular parlays. Visit FanDuel.com Use the promo code ZONE. That's FanDuel.com/zone. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. 21 plus and present in Iowa. First online real money wager only. $5 pregame money line wager required. $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued is non-withdrawable. Bonus bets that expire 7 days after receipt. See terms at FanDuel. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-BETS-OFF.
Gary Sharp, Nick Handley, and Jimmy Chavez. Mornings with Sharp and Handley. Weekdays 6 to 10 on 1620 The Zone and 1620thezone.com. Previously on Unsportsmanlike Conduct.
It doesn't seem like any of us are supper people in here.
I was a supper person.
I was
for a
too,
long
and I
time.
moved away from it. I hate supper. People who call dinner supper call lunch dinner, and these people trigger me.
Dinner is only lunch on weekend, on like a Sunday. My grandmother would call supper a snack between lunch and dinner, and then sometimes dinner would be dinner, but dinner wouldn't be dinner. I didn't understand these etiquettes.
Unsportsmanlike Conduct with John Bishop and Josh Peterson. Weekdays 2 to 6 on 1620 The Zone. Your Omaha area forecast from the Godfather's Pizza Weather Center and KETV Newswatch 7 on 1620 The Zone.
Patchy freezing fog this morning will give way to mostly cloudy skies for your Thursday, staying seasonally chilly with a high this afternoon in Omaha of 33. Winds remain light out of the southeast up to 10 miles an hour. Light winds continue overnight, staying cloudy and chilly with a low of 26. I'm meteorologist Caitlin Harvey with KETV Newswatch 7.
Visit KuglerVision.com today and check out their special New Year's savings. It's KuglerVision.com.
1620 The Zone. Traffic.
From the Zoom Drain Time-Saving Traffic Center. An accident has been reported at 50th and F Street. If you're approaching from any direction, proceed with caution. There may be some delays in that area for the next hour or so. And just watch out for that dense fog advisory throughout Douglas County and the surrounding areas, as visibility may be impacted. Stay safe and wear those seatbelts. I'm Peter Krenzer.
This time-saving traffic is brought to you by Sol's Jewelry and Loan.
If you have a large amount of gold or precious metals and want the best price with no waiting, Sol's makes it easy and fast. Any amount of gold, silver, or jewelry, no limit, immediate payment. Sol's Jewelry and Loan.
Email any of our shows anytime into the Equitable Bank inbox. At Equitable, we take banking personally. For me, John at 1620thezone.com. The Equitable Bank inbox from 1620 The Zone.
My passion for the unborn comes from my own unplanned pregnancy. Dan and I have been together for over 45 years. We have 3 of the most beautiful children. My name is Marlis Patma. I'm the former president of Iowa Right to Life, and I'm supporting Nikki Haley for president. I've heard Nikki's story. She speaks with such clarity about the importance of life because for her, it's personal.
I am unapologetically pro-life, not because the Republican Party tells me to be, but because my husband was adopted and I had trouble having both of my children.
Nikki's a sister in Christ. She's pro-life. She has compassion and strength. I want a president with moral clarity who can restore our country, our pride, and our purpose. For my children and yours, please support Nikki Haley for president.
I'm Nikki Haley, candidate for president, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Nikki Haley for president.
It's game day at Jim's house, and the spread is impressive.
Mike's already done some damage with the hot wings, and now he's dropping back and going deep for another slice of pizza.
I sure hope he brought the Pepto.
Mike knows the Pepto-Bismol provides fast 5-symptom relief from unexpected stomach upsets. He's no rookie.
The way he's throwing back those nachos, he's the GOAT.
Be ready for game day with Pepto-Bismol.
When you have nausea, heartburn, indigestion, upset stomach, diarrhea.
Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
With savings at the Home Depot, we'll get your kitchen clicking. With top brand appliances like a GE Profile refrigerator with convenient features like a built-in dual dispense autofill pitcher. Plus, with seamless shopping in-store and online, everything you need for your kitchen is just a click away. Get up to $800 off select kitchen appliances from top brands like GE Profile at the Home Depot. Pricing valid January 4th through 24. Gas ranges and dryers extra. U.S. only. See store or online for details.
Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Subscription required. Price varies based on product and subscription plan.
Hey guys, did you know there's a generic form of Viagra that works just the same, but is 95% cheaper? And you can get it online? Just go to hims.com/radio. Through Hims, you'll get a free medical consultation, discreet shipping if prescribed, a 100% online process, and trusted generic alternatives to the name brands at up to 95% off. That's right, get generic for Viagra, the same active ingredient as brand name Viagra, but for 95% less. It's the same medication, still prescribed by a licensed medical provider, but with zero copay, no expensive appointments, and no awkward face-to-face conversations. To start your free online visit, you need to go to this exclusive address, hims.com/radio. That's hims.com/radio for your free online visit. HIMS.com/RADIO.
Host is roasting every morning. Host is roasting every day.
Put your coffee department in good hands with Host Coffee Service, providing direct delivery and loaned coffee equipment with service programs. If you're ready to change to a better coffee provider, it's time for Host Coffee.
Omaha's best coffee since 1972. Host Coffee is always roasting something good for you.
And we're back. Mornings with Sharp and Handley. Here's Gary, Nick, and Jimmy on 1620 The Zone.
Hey, quick question here. Last night downtown, UConn. They had a record crowd. It's the UConn effect. UConn destroyed Creighton. They beat them by 44. Yeah. They made you go, who is that Creighton team? Because they sped them up early. They frustrated them. They didn't look
worst Big East loss.
And they're still really good.
They didn't look anything close to what they look like offensively. But, I mean, UConn was the tougher team. I mean, UConn came in here and said, it's all business. Mm-hmm. And that's 2 straight years they've come into Omaha and blown them out. We'll see what happens when Creighton goes to Storrs. So, I mean, Creighton looked nothing like anything you've seen from a Jim Flannery team last night.
Yeah.
So UConn wins by 44. They won by 44. So they beat Marquette and Creighton back-to-back. I mean, they rolled in here and they beat a really good Creighton team that'll be firmly in the NCAA tournament. They beat it by 44. But the thing I always wonder about UConn, and Paige Beckers was showing off last night, I know that the ACL injury happens a lot with female athletes. Mm-hmm. It seems like every UConn game I watch, they have a serious injury. Like Aubrey Griffin suffered a bad knee injury last night here.
And she needed help getting off the floor.
They only have like 10 players because they have all these injuries. Like they are UConn, so they have a deep roster full of McDonald's All-Americans. Mm-hmm. But it seems like every time I watch UConn, they're suffering like a major knee injury. And I think they suffered another one last night in that game.
Trying to figure out what I don't even know what like the correlation, because you're right. Because when I used to do women's basketball, some radio and PA too. Like I feel like I witnessed more of that than I ever did in the men's side. I don't know what the correlation is.
See, I'm thankful I never had a ACL in all the years that I worked at KU, because I know it's an elevated risk, but you always fear, and you guys know this when you get close to a team, one of your biggest fears is one of the players that you know well gets hurt, and you can audibly hear them scream and cry over the mics. And so that was always one of my biggest concerns, that I hoped I got out of it before you witnessed, because eventually you would. And you don't unhear that.
I think I saw like 3 in my time doing Creighton, PA, and women's basketball. Now, it wasn't always on the Creighton side of it too. But
anybody.
There was one they were playing K-State a while back, and I remember it was off a jump stop, and you could just see it. She came up just short of 3-point line on a jump stop and just completely collapsed. It was like, oh my gosh. And you knew. So I don't know. It is interesting though. I don't know if there's any type of correlation with what you see in women's basketball and men's basketball when it comes to that.
Men or women, I mean, the Hopkins injury last night, you could hear him, screaming on the Fox broadcast. All right, here is Gary on the 42 Degree Source Hotline. Good morning, Gary.
Good morning. Happy New Year, gentlemen.
As well, Gary.
Thank you very much, by the way.
Nice to have you back. Couple things. One, with the transfer portal ending today.
Are we talking high school or college?
College.
Okay.
College. Yeah.
Because the high school transfer portal in this town's about to get crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can they carry their signing and commitment all the way out to August, or is there a cutoff date they have to sign by? First question. Second question. I was watching the Under Armour game yesterday. Were you guys aware that any of the early signing kids that are going to be on campus within the next week was able to practice with their team they signed with during bowl preparations. And 3, I'm drinking the Kool-Aid. I'm making the first prediction for 2024.
Put it on the board.
Nebraska will go 9-3 next year.
Whoa.
All right.
Welcome back, gentlemen.
All right.
Thanks, Gary. The question of...
I just want them to make a bowl game.
I was like, I think 7-5 for that reason. Just make a bowl game.
Dylan, 9-3.
9-3. It's on you. Get those players too.
Have a big weekend.
Maybe fly you back out here next week to the Purdue game.
Well, they have to. They report January 14th.
Yeah, and enrollment. Or I'm sorry, not enroll. Start of semester is 22nd.
Yeah,
of course.
Trust me.
Yeah,
of someone who has
you're counting down the days.
Connection with a sophomore at UNL. I'm like, God, you've been home for a long time, kid.
Do you still go to college?
Yeah. So I mean, to answer Gary's question, the intent to be part of early signing, or I'm not early signing, but to be part of spring. Yeah, you have to be enrolled by the 22nd, and you're reporting to winter workouts on the 14th. So you would have to be signed up for classes. I guess you're not signed because there's no letter of intent.
Yeah, no. If all you have to do is be in the portal, you can commit whenever.
Right.
For example, Landfair, the volleyball player that's going to transfer to Nebraska from Minnesota, she won't be here until May.
Oh, I thought she was here in January.
No, she has to finish classes at Minnesota, and then she'll be here in May.
Okay.
Now, I don't. Also, part of Gary's question is, if you are an early enrollee, I believe that you can take part in bowl practices.
Yes, I think that is true.
I think it has to be bowl practices that are after the semester has ended.
Yeah.
I believe
which
that
most of them.
I believe that is the case, that you can do that.
You got to start worrying about that
But
next year.
you just have there's 2 windows that you have to be in the portal. You can choose your school whenever.
Yeah.
I mean, you can be in the portal and do nothing until August. Now, your options are probably going to be very limited. It's the biggest thing is you got to be in the portal, which is something to watch maybe today and tomorrow. I'm not making this a Nebraska thing, but maybe more around college football. I mean, yesterday we saw Alabama had a flurry of guys that after the semifinal put their name into the portal.
9.
So once you go into the portal, does not mean it immediately becomes public.
Right.
Because there is paperwork that is involved. So the deadline was January 2nd.
Yeah, it was Tuesday.
You could have put your name in on January 2nd, and it's not public yet.
Mm-hmm.
And there are some guys that are in the portal that it's not public. Those are not going to be your top end guys.
Right.
But you just have to be in at a certain date, and then there is no, limit on when you can choose your school.
Right. Yeah, I mean the important part of that, as we said, the second, is if you're planning on joining a team, which I would say the majority of players are, unless there are some academic requirements that they are obligated to, are going to enroll by semester of spring so they can be a part of spring ball.
I mean, early
enrollees
enrollees are the way to go.
Yeah.
Now, it's not for everybody. Everybody wants to finish school, and some kids are playing basketball, so they're not going to leave their basketball team and go and early enroll. But there is more of an advantage now with early enrollees. I really think one of the things we're going to talk about when we get around to fall camp is the amount of early enrollees at key positions. Like Grant Bricks enrolling early is huge for Nebraska. Nebraska's quarterback in 2024 enrolling early. Danny Kalin enrolling early. Guys that are going to benefit from the winter conditioning, but they're going to get all of those practices and already time with wide receivers or other linemen is huge. But there is the part of the early enrollee and bowl practices. I think the bulls that aren't in the playoffs need to shift to, this is a preview of the next season, because you're allowing those early enrollees to practice with your team. Now, more than likely, they're not going to play at all. I mean, that would be
crazy.
But they still get to practice, so there's that added bonus as well.
Yeah,
because Florida State had a couple of early enrollees that actually put on the pads and practiced.
Yeah,
because they were coming straight off their high school season.
Yeah, I think that's always been the case of being able to have the early enrollees practice in bowl games. It's just been a while since we've been able to talk about that. But like the high school freshmen basically being on campus in January, especially this last year with Nebraska, you saw the benefit of that. And I think about Cam Lenhart, and I think of Princewell in particular. Those were guys that, when you're getting used to a new system, especially playing in a position like that, you're playing on the line of scrimmage, playing the defensive line too, and being able to get ahead of it, being able to understand the language, the verbiage, and just get familiar with the guys around you. Like, I think that went a long way in helping this defense get to where it was, having those types of freshman impact players, now guys that were early enrollees. Now, there were some that weren't, that obviously were in the mix too, because of just their overall ability, and they're still keeping track and trying to get as educated as they can on the system. But yeah, I mean, you see the benefit of that, where guys have an impact relatively early. I mean, right out of the gate in some occasions, especially for Nebraska.
You imagine getting an early enrollee and he comes in and he plays in your bowl game?
That would be, I mean, what would that kid be thinking?
Because the bowl game doesn't count.
Right. What would the kid be thinking?
That'd be a dude. That'd be
yeah,
a dude.
it would be.
Okay, hypothetical question here. Let's say this is 2024. Nebraska's, they eke their way. No, 20. Okay, let's just, no. Current scenario. Nebraska eke their way into a bowl game.
Yeah.
With their current quarterback position. They're playing in Detroit.
Mm-hmm.
So we give a couple extra days. So they're playing after. No, either they're playing in Phoenix or Detroit, because both those games were the day after Thanksgiving or Christmas.
Yeah.
And you know who,
pretty much the same.
You know who commits.
Yeah. Give him a series.
I mean, if you want to help.
He's not starting.
You don't think that would amp the attention for the
hell yeah, well,
Little Caesars quick lane
oh
bowl
my gosh,
in Detroit?
Yeah.
Pizza.
That's
I mean,
why
just have those guys on the sidelines in pads.
That's why these bowls need to shift to. Yeah. This is basically a spring game.
It's our futures game.
It's an exhibition. It's a spring game, and these are the future.
Mm-hmm. No, I like that. I mean, honestly, Gary, I don't know another way to make those non-playoff bowl games interesting outside the fan bases that are impacted.
Edible mascot.
I really don't. Yeah, I mean,
remember, bowls should be anything that fits in a bowl, or you lean into your sponsor.
Mm-hmm.
I keep using the Lockheed Martin. You lose, you get nuked.
Yeah.
It's just.
I thought we backed off the nuking though,
and it could be any bowl.
No, you're going back
because we take enjoyment of people getting stuff poured on them.
Yeah, that's fun.
Like
especially gross stuff.
Physical harm after a football game.
Mayonnaise.
Now maybe nuking is a little bit, because there's no coming back once you get, nuked.
No,
that's tough.
I mean, that's it.
Getting slime.
Unless you're a cockroach.
Yeah.
That's it. And there's, it's not just you. There's it's a cumulative effect there, man. I mean, come on, what are we really doing?
Can't you have selective
cheese or radiation?
Can't you have
selective nuking? It's very detailed to just one area.
I don't want to wipe out an entire country. I would just like to do like a neighborhood.
So
I don't know if it works that way, but technology, man, it's amazing. Did we ever find out, because it wasn't steaming, but the coffee from the Scooters bowl?
You said it was cold.
Yeah,
it was cold,
but I don't think it was like Gatorade cold.
No.
Like,
but it wasn't steaming hot.
Water.
There were no third degree burns.
I wonder if if they just put out a regular pot of coffee and they just let it sit on the sideline.
There is no redeeming quality to cold coffee. Absolutely none.
I disagree.
Like your coffee getting cold, or like the ice cold?
I like
coffee getting cold.
Okay. Coffee getting cold.
Hey,
okay. A cold brew is a cold brew.
Hey, I'm a edge walker. I drink iced coffee in the winter.
Oh, yeah, you are weird.
Oh, you and Amy. Okay.
That's strange.
I go to Dunkin' and I say, I take an iced coffee, and the lady goes, "Excuse me?
Do you also get ice cream in the winter?"
Yes, because it doesn't melt.
Yeah.
That's weird.
Why?
That's strange.
Why is it weird?
I eat chili in July.
Yeah.
See, that's weird too.
You eat chili because it sounds good.
Why is that weird?
Because it warms the soul, man.
If you
don't need to be warmed up in July.
Do you eat soup in the summer?
No, not usually.
Do you eat soup in the spring?
If it's cold. If it's
Only
one of those,
when it's cold.
Yeah. I'm a cold weather.
See, you grew up in Texas. You don't go by the weather, because then you'll never eat these
I
things.
understand that if you grew up in like a
I think you're allowing
warm
life
climate.
to box you in.
Yeah.
No, I don't.
I'm equal opportunity.
We had
of ice
the thing
cream last night.
Part of the thing I enjoy about having a soup is like soup weather or chilly weather. Like, it's chilly weather. I'm
Turn your AC down.
Really
enjoy your chili.
It's chilly out. I'm going to eat pancakes.
Yeah.
Oh, you can eat pancakes anytime.
Not necessarily.
Yeah, pancakes.
When it's 115 degrees out, a pancake does not taste as good.
Yeah, I've been to Phoenix in July.
But I also,
I don't know about that.
I eat pancakes without a fork and knife.
Do you use your hands?
Mm-hmm.
Fold it up.
I roll them. I fold them up.
Yeah.
Like
and eat them
like
like a sandwich.
Like a crepe?
Yeah, no, I eat pancakes like a sandwich.
Stick a sausage in there. It's like a McGriddle.
What do you put? Yeah, do you put like an egg in between?
No, it's just a separate pancake. Why mix them? Enjoy both.
Do you eat a Snickers bar with a fork?
No. What? I'm not alone here. There are other people that eat pancakes like a sandwich.
I used to eat waffles like that.
No.
Dip them in the syrup, not pour the syrup on them.
Yeah.
So
I
okay,
got
I'm trying to understand this.
Let's get some
So you
pancakes brought in
don't
here.
you don't roll it up.
40-year-old virgin over there. Listen. It's life-changing.
So it's
I've
so
done
you're
it.
taking
Yeah.
you're taking two pancakes and then you're eating them like a sandwich.
Separate.
No, separate.
Separate because
Wait,
you
roll
get two eating like a sandwich, you get full right away.
That's true.
You just go separate.
So you rolled up like a burrito then.
Yeah, and you dip it in the, maybe put a little peanut butter on it. Maybe but you dip it in the syrup.
And it's not just because I've never done that. I can honestly say
Remember John Travolta in Saturday Night Fever with the fold-up pizza?
Well,
Like
yeah,
that.
I've seen
Yeah.
that. But I can honestly say in my many, many years of going to breakfast places and probably several people around me ordering pancakes, I've never once witnessed someone rolling up a pancake and eating it like a
We'll
burrito.
go to breakfast and I will order pancakes and I'll eat it like that.
It's going to blow my mind.
People will stare and then you will notice they'll be like, I wonder if he's onto something.
It's a baller move.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you got me intrigued. I'm not saying that's like awful. Like that's no way to enjoy a pancake.
You ever have breakfast for dinner?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, all the time.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
I love Brenner.
All right. You're no longer a 40-year-old virgin.
Brenner's great.
Just so
we
amazed by
have some correspondence here about the Scooters Bowl.
Okay.
It was cold brew.
Oh, it was cold. Ooh, okay. Because usually you could see the ice coming out of like when they dump the Gatorade on coaches. I don't recall seeing ice coming out of that.
Well, I mean, it melted.
Maybe it did.
Asian Joe and I are thinking along the same lines here. When are we getting the 42 degrees bowl? I said it could be any kind of bowl. I didn't say it had to be in a food bowl.
Talk about edibles.
And the losing coach has to move back in with his mom
for one night by your mom's house.
That's not far off. You don't think as
you're watching it
as as marijuana becomes more legal.
Oh, we'll have one.
Snoop, LA Bowl.
That was a terrible phrase. As marijuana becomes legal across the country in more states, you don't think that's the next step?
That a dispensary or somebody's going to get involved? No, you're not wrong. You're absolutely. I mean, think about it. Makes it interesting. What would that do for the?
I don't know. I think it would be a.
Do you think the NCAA would step in?
I think it would be
like,
a terrible financial idea because you would only be in for 1 to 2 years. If I'm going to sponsor a bowl, I want to look at like a 5-10 year plan. But man, sometimes you're losing your what in sponsorship of bowls. Like Barstool isn't going to sponsor the Arizona Bowl anymore.
Nope. Probably for the best after that broadcast.
They lost the last 2 years. You can only have so much Frank the Tank.
The NCAA, though, at some point, when you think, say, we got to draw a line somewhere.
No, they've leaned into gambling.
Yeah, that's what they're going to draw the line on. We finally got some good bowl sponsors. And
how about draw the line on better officiating?
Well, there's that. I'm not disagreeing. I'm just saying.
Looking at you,
the
ACC
NCAA
crew.
saying we're going to. I mean, you know what? You're right, though, because it has been an organization of hypocrisy where you investigate certain things, yet you do embrace certain things when it leads to a revenue stream. So even though you would be tested, you drug test players if the money was right for a certain bowl sponsorship from a marijuana dispensary or what have you. Yeah, you're right. The NCAA probably would be like, yeah, you know what? They're going to pay the tab. We'll allow it.
It was awful smoky at the bowl game I was at from the fireworks show. That could be a different kind of smoke next time. Hot box the Chase Field.
All right, our discussion about female athletes and the numerous knee injuries. Thank you to people that have sent in articles. Matt writes into the Equitable Bank inbox. Reason women tear more ACLs is because the angle of the hips to the knees is greater because they have wider hips made for birthing. Also a big overuse problem. Now, the overuse problem I've heard a lot from like parents.
Okay.
Olympic athletes have mandatory rest. They have a point system. When you get to the max amount of points for the week, they shut it down to prevent injury. Coaches should be resting their athletes more. Coach which Mac took some heat last year for not practicing as much at the end of the year. Exactly what he should be doing. These kids can't protect themselves because they're exhausted. Yeah.
Radio should have that rule.
If you're late in the instead of a 4-hour show, we're going to do 2.5 today.
Mandatory rest.
Yeah.
For
Friday
2
we're
months.
going network.
Yeah, we're inching closer to the time of basketball practice where they go from 2 hours to 1, and it's just bang, bang, bang. It's nice and quick.
Get a shoot around.
Thanks, Matt, for the email.
Get it over 2
SBH,
days.
Sarah Baker Hansen coming up in about 15 minutes on 1620 The Zone.
Mornings with Sharp and Handley returns in minutes on 1620 The Zone. For the Jays, the Huskers, and even you Jayskers, we are 1620 The Zone.
Coffee comes from a plant. Tea comes from a leaf. Kratom comes from a leaf. Kratom may seem new, but it is an all-natural product that has helped people for centuries alleviate discomfort, anxiety, and so much more. At 42 Degrees, we carry the largest selection, highest quality Kratom, so that you can receive all the benefits of Kratom. At 42 Degrees, we care about your health, so ask for our Kratom at any of our multiple locations. For hours and locations, go to 42degrees.com. Buy your mom's house.
The dangers of secondhand smoke are well known, but what about secondhand aerosol, which is created when using e-cigarettes? Science already shows a secondhand aerosol can contain nicotine, heavy metals, and cancer-causing agents. Eliminating exposure to secondhand aerosol is an important step to keeping everyone safe. Breathe easier knowing the facts.
For help quitting, call the Nebraska Tobacco Quit Line, 1-800-QUIT-NOW, 1-800-784-8669. Paid for by Tobacco Free Nebraska. Aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
Take your home to the next level with Level countertops, cabinets, and flooring. If you have a kitchen, bath, or closet that is completely dysfunctional, now is the time to make them functional. Level countertops, cabinets, and flooring is your expert for taking your home to the next level. The staff will listen to your needs and dreams and create a unique space specifically for you and your family. Visit the showroom at 192nd and West Maple or online at levelomaha.com. That's levelomaha.com.
We're going abroad for the first time in years, to Spain. So we started using Babbel.
And started learning Spanish fast.
With Babbel, you can start having conversations in another language in just 3 weeks.
¿Cómo te llamas? ¿Cómo te llamas?
When you learn a language, you want to actually use it. Babbel is designed with that goal in mind.
In just 3 weeks, we're starting to have conversations in Spanish. Gracias, Babbel.
Babbel, language for life. Start learning a new language today at Babbel.com. That's BABBEL.com.
Cards issued by Sutton Bank and Celtic Bank, members FDIC. Terms and conditions apply.
Are you the decision maker in your company? Consider this. For the first time in decades, there's a better option for a corporate card and spend management platform. Meet Ramp, the only corporate card and spend management system designed to help you spend less money so you can make more. Most corporate credit cards offer points as incentives, but those points amount to less than their worth in real cash value. Ramp's corporate cards offer you cash back, real money in your pocket. Plus, you control who spends what with each vendor. And Ramp's software collects and verifies receipts automatically, which means you'll stop wasteful spending and close your books in hours instead of days. Businesses that use Ramp add up to 5% to their bottom line the first year. If you're a decision maker, adding Ramp could be one of the best decisions you've ever made. And now get $250 when you join Ramp. Just go to ramp.com/sports. ramp.com/sports. ramp.com/sports.
I see the future in our public school classrooms every day. I'm Jenny Benson, president of the Nebraska State Education Association. I also see how critically important parent and community support is to our students' success. Support your public schools. Get involved. Form a business school partnership or become a school volunteer. Great schools and great communities work hand in hand.
Sponsored by the Nebraska State Education Association, aired by the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
Saturday, the Creighton Blue Jays are back at home as they battle the Providence Friars. Pre-game coverage begins Saturday morning at 11. Tip-off is at 1. Creighton Blue Jay basketball on 1620 The Zone and 1019 The Keg.
1620 The Zone at 1620thezone.com. Now back to mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone.
Sarasota Sean says, it's okay. My 14-year-old eats pancakes with his hands.
It's 14.
I like his son.
He's 14.
He didn't need to put the age.
But he did.
Just means he's young.
Gives us a little reference.
All about convenience. I really think I could survive in the wild. And eating pancakes without a fork and knife would
helps you.
Would yes.
Are you gonna have some Bisquick batter readily available in the wilderness?
Take the
Whip up some pancakes.
I'll bring a toaster and I'll be able to find a plug-in when I'm glamping.
Now you're speaking my language.
I got an email yesterday. I love all the interaction with our listeners and all the emails. I do apologize to Molly. We got into a conversation on the crossover yesterday about the Epstein list. I do apologize. We probably let that go a little bit too far
as well.
But I like all the emails because, we get tips, and now we've had a discussion via email in the Equitable Bank inbox about the high-profile high school transfers for football that are in this town that'll be known now that people are going back to school. But I also like tips. Hey, you should get this person on.
Mm-hmm.
I got this email yesterday from a guy named Carl, which anybody that is named Carl is always suspect to me to start with.
Oh.
Just the name.
6'9" power forward.
Well, not everybody can be Carl Hayes.
The CEO at my last company was
by the
named
way,
Carl.
Carl Hayes, part of the 90-91 team, which Nebraska is matched for the best 14 games.
I always
anytime I can mention Carl Hayes and DePriest Owens in the same sentence.
I always immediately go to Carl Weathers. And if you don't trust Apollo Creed, then I got nothing for you.
He died.
No, he did.
Twice.
To help save us from the Cold
So
War.
Carl says you should get the person that I met. This is a rough email to read through, so I apologize, Carl. You should get the person on your show that I met at a coffee shop right after Christmas that is here because of Tominaga. So it leads me to believe that there is a Japanese reporter that maybe is living in Omaha that is covering Tominaga.
There is. He was part of the press pool last night.
50th and Capitol.
Oh,
come on
so
down.
this is real.
Yeah. I was watching this morning. I was watching the post game presser, and there's a Japanese reporter that was in the.
Are
press
they
pool.
just here to do a story, or actually
See, that I don't know.
I've been around professional baseball where if you have a Japanese player, the Japanese media,
it's like his beat writer.
Yeah, they follow you. I mean, look at that's one of the things about Ohtani staying in Southern California is he's got his own little media corps that they would not have to relocate.
Yeah,
because they all moved to Southern California.
Great for them.
I'm not sure because he asked a question to Fred, and he said when we spoke earlier about the NBA feedback, it was in relation to the NBA feedback that he got. So it made me think that he's at least been around, or he's been in communication with Fred, prior.
All right, they've had plenty of stories have been written about Tominaga. That would be wild if there was a reporter in this country that was dedicated to Tominaga. Now, what Nebraska needs to do with Tominaga is he needs an enforcer. Okay, in hockey, they have the goon that jumps out and they protect
Sandy McCarthy.
Yeah.
And it might be Alec. Man, Indiana. And I would do this too. If Tominaga wasn't playing for Nebraska and I was going against Nebraska, I would hate Tominaga. That's a guy that I would absolutely hate because he's flamboyant, he's good, just the kind of style he plays. Like he made a play late in the game last night, and he ended up like right in front of the Indiana bench.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was twofold. He knew what he was doing. He was playing up to the crowd by a motion with his hands.
Yes.
But it was right like in the face of the Indiana players that were sitting on the bench. Again, if I'm going against Nebraska, I hate Tominaga. I'm going at him. Nebraska might need that goon to step onto the floor to protect Tominaga.
You need Rick Mahorn.
Because Indiana did go at him last night. Alec might be that guy. Like I'm the personal protection of Keisei Tominaga.
Yeah, and he did. There was a moment, now that you bring up Alec, there was a moment where I can't remember if Keisei was diving to the floor or if there was some contact. This was like early second half where Alec kind of like, I think Alec either was quick to get there or kind of picked him up. And it was like one of the first ones there. Like, I see what you're saying there because remember Braden Carrington with Minnesota, the way that he defended.
Well, and remember he also Tominaga didn't have a field goal in that game. Yeah,
right.
You're right. That's a great point.
And he was, not only was he all over him, but then he started kind of baiting Tominaga in to where Tominaga got called for a foul that they actually had to review. They thought there might be a flagrant there involved. So he was actually kind of not only being physical, but he was kind of, kind of playing the game a little bit there with Tominaga. But yeah, I'm trying to now you got me thinking about, there was a moment last night where I thought the same thing of how, everybody, because when Tominaga gets into it, you're always curious if everybody else is feeling it, if the rest of his teammates are feeling it. When he's got to
get on the Pinnacle Bank Arena heater.
Yes.
That's what I call it.
And so, the fans love it. But
look when he blew by that freshman to get the little reverse layup with the left
well,
hand.
Yeah,
and then
that
he ran back and look how he's doing the airplane.
Yes, yeah,
like Jason Terry.
And so I'm always curious.
I'd come off the bench and just cold cock.
See, and that's the thing. Like, I'm with you. Like, I know as an opponent, I wouldn't like that, but I'm always also curious if his teammates are feeling that too, or if they're like, all right, dude.
Other team, Charles Oakley and Anthony Mason.
Let's act like we've been here before. Let's not poke the bear. Like, but no, they all seem to be obviously pretty welcoming to it. But Alec was like one of the first dudes that when he kind of hit the deck in a moment that I saw Alec there. So it's just kind of funny you brought that up, because now I kind of remember a moment like that. Okay, so Zach is. I think Zach knows what I'm talking about. Lego Mania says, after Casey was fouled on a 3, Alex sprinted over to help him up. Okay, that's what it was. He was fouled on the 3. It was over in the corner. And yes, that's exactly what I was thinking of. And he said there was another time where Alec got a defensive rebound and the ball in his hand under the basket. He helped Casey up before bringing the ball down the court. So I think you're right. There's your guy.
He's the enforcer. I mean, Alex spent more time on the floor, which was a good thing last night, than he did putting the ball in the bucket. That was okay. He knows his role. His role might be the enforcer.
Mm-hmm.
If this was hockey,
and he can back that up.
If this was hockey,
he'd lead the team in penalty minutes.
Mike Woodson would have sent a guy out to run Tominaga to knock him into the boards.
Then Fred be like, Josiah, go get him.
And then Alec would have hopped off the bench, and you would have had a fight.
Yep.
Who says Nebraska doesn't have hockey?
Circle.
All right. Sarah Baker, Hanson, Steve Sipple in the next hour of Mornings with Sharp and Handley and Jimmy on 1620 The Zone.
Mornings with Sharp and Handley returns in minutes on 1620 The Zone. Live from the Host Coffee Studio, this is 1620 The Zone. 1620 The Zone. Traffic.
From the Zoom Drain Time-Saving Traffic Center. An earlier accident at 50th and F Street still being taken care of. May see some delays still in that area. If you're heading eastbound on Dodge near 93rd, the far right lane is blocked due to police activity. That will be causing some delays as well. And a stalled vehicle on the Dodge Expressway at 132nd on the left shoulder. Expect some slow traffic in that area. Stay safe and wear those seatbelts. I'm Peter Krenzer.
This time-saving traffic was brought to you by IBEW Local 22.
The electrical market requires your company to adjust to an ever-changing field. IBEW Local 22 gives you flexibility with access to journeymen, apprentices, and proven training programs. Call Bob at IBEW Local 22 for details at 402-980-7596.
It's the most time-honored tradition to start the weekend, grabbing a cold one from a local Nebraska brewery. Let's be real here. It's cold outside, and you don't want to drink the same boring beer as those Hawkeye fans. Drink Nebraska brewed beer, cider, or seltzers instead. Each week, we're putting the spotlight on a unique Nebraska brewery with One Beer Friday. Share your brew on social media with the hashtag One Beer Friday, and you'll be entered to win a $25 gift card to a local Nebraska brewery. Nebraska is the good life with great beer. Click nebraska.beer to learn more.
Hey everyone, Josh Peterson here from my friends at Kugler Vision. As we move on into 2024, I know so many of you out there have New Year's resolutions for what is next. Why not a resolution for improved vision? At Kugler Vision, they can change your life in a matter of minutes. It was 6 years ago when I went in for my consultation, the beginning of 2018, and then I had the procedure done that February, changed my life. 6 years later, so happy that I made that decision. You can do so today. Go to their website, kuglervision.com.
Hi, everybody. Kent Pavelka here with why I chose Everlevel Concrete Repair for my driveway. They do it all. They fix cracks, lift sunken slabs, protect the finished product from deterioration, and all at a fraction of the price of replacement. It's not a Band-Aid like other repair methods. Everlevel's products are designed to last, which is why they've been voted Best of Omaha again this year. Better yet, it all comes with a transferable warranty. Protect your concrete before winter. Call Everlevel today for your free inspection. Everlevel, they make your driveway Everlevel. Level up.
Margot felt quite exquisite as she dipped her fries in mayo, gracefully extending her pinky to the sky. See, she had just saved by getting Cox Mobile for her family. Yes, more lines, more savings, Margot. Brilliant. She finished her cherry slush drink with a triumphant... Exquisite indeed. Visit a Cox store and pay as low as $30 a line for 4 or more unlimited lines. 4 lines required for $30 per line price, max of 5 lines. Prices exclude taxes, device activation, and other fees and charges. Other restrictions apply.
Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Subscription required. Price varies based on product and subscription plan.
Hey guys, did you know there's a generic form of Viagra that works just the same, but is 95% cheaper? And you can get it online? Just go to hims.com/radio. Through Hims, you'll get a free medical consultation, discreet shipping if prescribed, a 100% online process, and trusted generic alternatives to the name brands at up to 95% off. That's right, get generic for Viagra, the same active ingredient as brand name Viagra, but for 95% less. It's the same medication, still prescribed by a licensed medical provider, but with zero copay, no expensive appointments, and no awkward face-to-face conversations. To start your free online visit, you need to go to this exclusive address, hims.com/radio. That's hims.com/radio for your free online visit. HIMS.com/RADIO.
KOZN Bellevue, Omaha, Council Bluffs. This is 1620, The Zone. Now back to mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone.
I just like this song. We just let the song play out. It ends, and we bring in
let it breathe.
Our wonderful friend, the foodie of Omaha, Sarah Baker Hansen, who joins us now. Happy New Year to you and Matthew and the rest of the family.
And Happy New Year to you. How are you doing?
Good. How was now? How do you guys spend your New Year's Eve? Are you out and about, or you stay in and just look at all of the other fools that are out there on the streets?
We are part of the group of fools who are out and about. We have gone out with the same group of friends for, probably going on 6 or 7 New Year's Eve. And we range in number from around 8 to 12. So as you might imagine, I have to start planning in advance, fairly far for a party that big. But my friend Stephanie and I, we always sort of are the ringleaders on the New Year's Eve plans. And this year we went to the committee chop house inside the Cottonwood Hotel, which was actually really great.
Yes.
It was very fun. There were a lot of people there. We ran into some friends and had a really great meal with all the sort of family style sides. And Handley, one of our other guests at the dinner, is a sommelier. So we had someone to do the wine choices as well. So it's a fairly sophisticated group of diners, and we had a great time.
I think last time I talked to you, you mentioned the responsibilities that everybody had for the holiday cooking. You were going to do the dessert. Was that correct?
Yeah.
What did we go with?
My mother-in-law and I spent between 8 and 10 hours making a Yule log.
Whoa, what is that?
It's like a cake that you roll into a log and then you decorate it to look like a log. So we made meringue mushrooms and candied raspberries or sugared raspberries. And then we decorated it. I'll post a picture of it on Twitter. It kind of defies
I got to see this.
It turned out. It looks pretty cool, though.
I have been waiting to discuss this place with you because it's not just a restaurant. It is an experience that we talked about on this show when you reviewed it way back in March of last year. I finally made it over in Benson. I was one of the 8 people that got inside the little room. We have a jewel in this town. I mean,
yes.
We've praised, and he deserves all the praise, David Utterback. Omaha is got one of the best sushi places, but I went to Oda.
Yeah.
Hello.
It really, I think it's hard to describe what the experience is like. And I think you probably can understand that now that you've been there. But the experience and what he's kind of, curating for the meal, I think is just really, there's nothing, certainly there's nothing else in Omaha that compares to it. And I've eaten, in a lot of different places. And I really do think that it is one of the most singular experiences that you can probably have anywhere in the United States right now. And the Washington Post agrees. So I feel confident in saying that.
You had brought up again, when we talked last time, I think you were just getting ready to release the top 8 restaurants that you reviewed in 2023. And we saw a couple of pizza places that made that list. I remember you talking about Moots, and that was another place in Countryside Village and another kind of a unique area of Omaha that maybe doesn't get enough attention that it should. But when you think of Moots and what you liked about that, because I look at the pictures and it's definitely, I'm a pizza fan. This is one that I definitely want to try out.
Yeah. And I think one of the things that really stands out to me about Moots, obviously the quality of the pizza, but also that, Colin Atkinson, who is the chef at Moots, is really, his mom is working there. His dad is working there. His brother Kane has worked with him. It's really a family operation in a way that I think is really cool and kind of retro and charming in a way. But what he's doing is, I think, really high quality pizza. And I think one of the things that I really look forward to experiencing again at Moots, and I feel like this is sort of taking a page out of what Block 16 does, is he's thinking of these daily special pizzas, and he just comes up with them on the fly. Like one of the days I ordered the daily special was a Philly pizza, and when I interviewed Colin later, he told me he had just thought of the flavors that morning and realized they had everything, and so just made it. And I feel like that type of kind of on the nose creativity, that's just, he's thinking of it that morning and then going and making it, is just so cool. And I feel like that is really one thing that Moots is doing that I don't know that any other kind of pizza joint in Omaha has a chef in charge who's thinking of new things daily and then just putting them out there. And I think the buffalo chicken pizza was another example of that. And I've seen several pizzas that Colin's put out that I just, really wanted to try. So I think that's a real thing that makes Moots different.
There's, as we enter 2024, and there's, we hear word of new places that are going to open that are either it's their second location or they're brand new to the Omaha market. What do you think, as we work our way through this year of food, what do you think will be some of the new trends that'll have Omaha involved that we'll see in this market that we haven't seen before?
That's a really interesting question. We talked last time I was on about how, like neighborhoods are kind of changing. I think that's going to be one thing we're going to continue to see. I have seen I think there may be another trend in sort of higher end, kind of like healthy food that we haven't seen before. I've got a cough. Another thing that I think is really interesting that's happened is kind of restaurants. We've talked about restaurants far out west Omaha. I think we're going to see more restaurants opening in the north downtown area, kind of where, there's more places to go now. We've seen some breweries open. We've, Archetype Coffee's over there. There's some sort of like bakeries and specialty places, but I think we're going to start to see more actual sit-down restaurants opening in that area of town, which I'm really excited about. I know also, I think there's going to be, I was just looking at my list that I'm always looking at. There's a bar that's just open in the Capital District that's all about martinis. It's basically a martini bar. And that's sort of like wonderfully retro in a 90s kind of way. and I'm excited to check that out. So, I think there'll be lots of other trends that kind of come up as the year goes on. But those are just some of the things that are top of mind for me.
Yeah, and Sarah, we kind of look ahead to some of the great events in Omaha, sporting-wise. We know the NCAA tournament's going to be back here. You mentioned the Capital District. I remember when they had the regional finals here, the Sweet 16 here, they kind of did a soft launch. And, between now and then, there's always been maybe some inconsistencies of, when certain places are open and what have you. Is that, in your opinion, and we know Let It Fly's there now, that's going to be a big boom to that, especially for those types of events. But is that an area that you think is still kind of a sleeping giant, or as far as what you can put in there and what that entertainment district, especially with restaurants, could be when all's said and done?
I think Let It Fly is sort of I see it in my mind as a game changer a little bit. It is sort of delivering on, every level in terms of atmosphere, food. They have good cocktails. They have wine. They have. I've never seen so many TVs, and I've never seen a TV as large as the one above their bar.
Yeah.
I've been there several times since I reviewed it, and I still think it's probably, and I think I could probably pretty fairly say, in my experience, it's probably the best sports bar in the city. So I think that is really going to be setting the bar, and I think there's lots of other interesting and cool things that are opening, like the martini bar that I mentioned. Last weekend, we went to the Fat Putter with my brother and sister-in-law and our 11-year-old niece. And I can say without, hesitation that we had an absolute blast. It was super fun. So I think stuff like that, I think is really kind of changing and adding to the neighborhood. And just, there are different and new options that have opened, even since the Capital District started. And I think the surrounding area around North Downtown has changed a lot and continues to change with new businesses and, new restaurants opening. So, yeah, I think when the College World Series crowd returns to Omaha next summer, they are going to be pleasantly surprised by all the new things that have kind of opened in the neighborhood.
Mike would like to know, what do you know about Circo, which I think took over in the old Julio's out on 192nd and Q?
I was out for a holiday gathering that way, and I drove by it, and I realized I had no idea kind of really in my head where it was at. But yeah, 192nd and Q. It's on my radar. The only thing I really know about it is that it's in that former Julio space, and it's Italian. I've not been there. Don't really know any more about it, but I believe it's locally owned. So that would certainly go toward the trend of kind of local new concepts opening in West Omaha. That's pretty far out there. We drove to a relative's house. So, we live on 10th and Dodge. We drove out there, solid 35-minute drive for us to get out that way. So yeah, the footprint of the city is definitely expanding in terms of new restaurants.
All right, this has become Ask Sarah segment, which it actually should.
It should be, yeah.
So Greg asked on the question that I asked you about trends. He said, "What about all of these rotisserie places? I was in Exarban Village and ate for the first time at Rub, which is a brand new rotisserie urban bistro. Is that something that is going to be new in the food world?"
Maybe so. I've also heard about Rub. Have not visited yet, but I'm certainly interested in that concept. Like, how is that exactly going to work? What are the flavors like? I'm really interested and excited to check it out. I haven't, really seen or heard much about that as a trend, but as a concept, I think it's a good. I think it's a great idea, and I'm really interested to see kind of just everything about it. What's the atmosphere like? How does it work? Is it more toward fast casual or sit down? I don't really know. As I've told you before, and I think most people know, I try to do very little research before I walk into a place because I don't like to have my expectations blown or set too low of expectations. So I don't know much about it other than it's open in Exarban Village and that it's on my radar. So I'm excited to check it out.
I want to bring it back to pizza for a moment too, because we talked about Moots. I know you have Lyle's in there as well, and in a lot of different styles. Whether we're talking New York Pizzeria, we've seen Detroit with Cops, and even Davlo with Chicago style pizza.
Yeah.
Is there because I know you spend a lot of time in New York as well, but is there if there was a pizza style or a type of pizza that you think they're still there for Omaha? Because I know people like to refer to Omaha as it's actually a pretty good pizza town, pretty good pizza city.
Yeah.
Is there something missing in your opinion?
I think we have pretty good representation in terms of like Neapolitan style pizza. Yeah. Like you said, we have Detroit style. I would say of all the different styles, probably the least represented would be Chicago style. Yeah. There's really only one place. And I would say, Detroit style is kind of still, I mean, it's obviously very popular now, but we really only have one place doing Detroit style pizza. I would say, New York style or the kind of classic like thinner crust pizza is probably the most represented. But I also feel like the wood fire Neapolitan style pizza, there's several places doing that as well. And I think you're exactly right that the fact that there are so many places doing, for example, Neapolitan style pizza in a city like Omaha is pretty impressive. So I think we have a great pizza game here. Yeah, I'm excited. I saw something the other week about how Noli's Pizza, which is New York style, has expanded its menu into more sort of pastas and entrees. So I thought that was kind of an interesting move. I haven't checked that out. But
the one by Exarban too.
Yeah, the one across the street from me is gone all in on the pasta.
Yeah, interesting.
Hey, we appreciate it. Thanks for putting up with us with the voice. I enjoyed the conversation, and we'll see what the next brings. And people are checking off your list of your favorites now that they have not been there and they've gone. But I got to tell you, you're number one. That is the most unique dining experience I've been to. And I had to remind myself while I was there, I'm in Omaha. That's pretty amazing what David has done.
We're incredibly lucky to have him.
Sarah, thank you.
Thanks. Talk to you soon.
Sarah Baker Hansen. Oda over in Benson. It's like the hidden.
So you said there's like one of like 8.
There's just
8 people.
Yeah, you just
a small little.
Yep, got to make reservations. And he comes in and he explains everything. It's impressive. It's really, really impressive. Here's another back to pizza. So, Detroit style pizza in this town has become popular. Yeah. Backlot now has 2 locations. They got one out in Elkhorn, the one in Exarban Village, and then Izzy's Pizza Bus, which has a big, they're
over on 108th and
but I got to ask a question here. So during the break, I drove over there because I was very interested. I've heard Dan Hoppen talk about it many times. It was on Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives. Did I do that right?
With Guy? Yeah.
Yeah, with Guy.
I think you said it in the right. I think that was in the right order.
The former Montreal Canadian star.
Guy Lafleur.
I was thinking that it was open all the time, and I guess it's not.
It's weekends.
Because they have like a permanent spot.
Yeah.
And the bus is there. Yeah. But there was nobody there.
Were the other ones open?
Well, there's another one. Must be another. Bus or whatever.
Yeah.
A different food concept is there as well. But there was nobody around. So I was like, oh, so I got to go find when they're having an event. I thought they were open all the time.
Well, I did wonder if like the food trucks, maybe, again, I haven't researched this well enough. We've gone on weekends, so we always knew it was open. I'm curious, like weeknights, and maybe some are open, or if like one's open, do they all have to be open? That's a good question, because I've never ventured out there like on a weekday or weeknight, only on weekends. But it's a cool concept. And like when we were talking to Sarah about the food halls, and my first real experience with the food halls was when I was in Chicago not that long ago. It was fantastic, and now we got the one in Blackstone too, and you obviously have the one in Exarban with the Interrail. The like the food truck sort of lot. I do wonder if that's because everybody loves food trucks now. It's no longer like a West Coast thing where the food trucks always were. Now it's everywhere. Everybody loves it. I'm curious if you're going to see more of those concepts like that one out on 108th. Like I think it's a great idea, and there's so many damn good food trucks.
Well, and there's a lot of food trucks like Willie Dogs and the Interrail.
They've been here.
Well, they had a food truck, and they were like, hey, let's get a permanent site.
Yeah, you get a stand,
and they're super popular.
Yep.
All right, 19 past the hour. Steve Sipple's coming up before the hour's over. A little bit later, Brian Edwards. More on last night in Lincoln, where Nebraska won. We got Omaha won at Baxter against Northern Arizona. Gino Ariema rolled into town, was very appreciative of the crowd that turned out to watch UConn, and left with 44 points. They won by 44.
Yeah. If you're to say the Creighton's worst loss biggest point differential in Big East play would be at home. I mean, UConn would probably be the team to fit the bill, but my goodness,
they're a big.
This is a good Creighton team.
Their roster construction, their size is going to cause a lot of people problems. And they're extremely talented, and Beckers is healthy, but their size is pretty significant when you compare them against Creighton and even Marquette, who is right up there as one of the better teams in the Big East. All right, 8:20. It's Mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone.
Gary Sharp, Nick Handley, and Jimmy Chavez. Mornings with Sharp and Handley. Weekdays 6 to 10. On 1620 The Zone and 1620thezone.com. Previously on Unsportsmanlike Conduct.
Have dynamic divisions. You can literally do that by saying, all right, well, we're going to match up the teams that we have scheduled against each other, and they're in one division, and the other group is in the other side. Hell, you could change them every year if you wanted to, but at least you have structure of this team's going to have the best record on this side, and your tiebreakers are going to work.
Unsportsmanlike Conduct with John Bishop and Josh Peterson. Weekdays 2 to 6 on 1620 The Zone. Your Omaha area forecast from the Godfather's Pizza Weather Center and KETV News Watch 7 on 1620 The Zone.
Patchy freezing fog this morning will give way to mostly cloudy skies for your Thursday. Staying seasonally chilly with a high this afternoon in Omaha, 33. Winds remain light out of the southeast up to 10 miles an hour. Light winds continue overnight, staying cloudy and chilly at the low of 26. I'm meteorologist Caitlin Harvey with KETV News Watch 7.
1620 The Zone. Traffic.
From the Zoom Drain Time-Saving Traffic Center. An accident reported at 144th and Pacific. Proceed with caution if you are heading towards that intersection. Moving a little slow dodge eastbound between 156th and 132nd Street, as well as on Highway 370 westbound between 96th Street and 114th. Prepare for it to be a little bit slower. Stay safe and wear those seatbelts. I'm Peter Krenzer.
This time-saving traffic is brought to you by Saul's Jewelry and Loan.
What does Saul's loan on? Almost everything, like jewelry, gold chains, bracelets, earrings, wedding rings, and high-end watches, guns, electronics, $10 to $50,000, super fast and easy with no credit check. Saul's loans on almost everything.
Email us on the Equitable inbox with whatever is on your mind. The Zone inbox is brought to you by Equitable Bank. We take banking personally. You can hit me up, agree, disagree, tell me your thoughts on life at Handley at 1620thezone.com. We want to hear from you on the Equitable Bank Zone inbox.
Oscar's Pizza and Sports Grill is your home for the big game. Whether it's the NFL or a rivalry on the hardwood, you will find all the action on Oscar's top-of-the-line audio-video system. With 40 TVs and massive dual projectors, the game has never looked better. Pair that with their award-winning char-buffed wings and $7.99 Monday through Friday lunch specials. Oscar's Pizza and Sports Grill has everything you need. 173rd and West Center Road, and for takeout at 162nd and Maple.
What's holding you back from learning the language you've always wanted to know?
Too hard.
Takes too long.
Not with Babbel. Babbel's lessons take just 15 minutes a day.
15 minutes isn't long.
Nope, and they're fun.
Fun isn't hard.
Right. Babbel's interactive lessons, podcasts, games, and more make it fun and engaging, so you don't realize you're learning a language, but you are. And Babbel's lessons are built around real life. You can choose from topics like travel, business, relationships, and more. You'll learn what matters most to you. Plus, Babbel's lessons are designed to get you speaking right away. In 3 weeks, you're able to start having conversations.
Just 3 weeks? Even better.
Since Babbel's lessons are designed by language experts and voiced by real native speakers, you'll get the accents just right and be able to carry on conversations with confidence.
Learning a language with Babbel doesn't take long.
And with Babbel, it isn't hard.
It's perfect.
Start learning a new language today. Go to Babbel.com. That's Babbel.com. Babbel.com.
Roofing, siding, and gutters. Make the right call with the rooferees at John Higgins Weather Guard.
Now back to Mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone.
All right, Stephen M. Sipple for the first time in 2024 is scheduled to join us here momentarily. Yesterday was a busy day for Nebraska football, so they've got. We'll get into this with Sip. They've got a plethora of portal guys that are going to be on campus. Very concerted effort with portal activity. Like they're not just throwing darts at the wall. They have a plan. They have wide receivers, linebackers, and running backs that they're having. So we'll get into that with SIP. But yesterday, they went through what I consider, because I've actually seen all three of these guys play in person, smart offers to in-state players. So Nebraska's up to 8 offers in-state in the class of 2025. The headliner is Christian Jones. God, he looks good. From West Side, but Nebraska's going to have some competition. So yesterday, they offer Pierce Mooberry.
Yep.
From Millard North.
Him a lot, I know.
Caden Vermas, his teammate, is already committed to Nebraska. Who I think both of these guys were not on the All-Metro team. I don't know if they were on the second All-Metro team. What the hell happened at Millard North this past year? Yeah. So Pierce, who we wondered aloud during the fall on TV, when's he going to get that offer? Because, I mean, he's a dude. Then Tim Carpenter's son at Lincoln Southwest, Jackson Carpenter, gets an offer yesterday. And then why I say these are smart offers, Mooberry and Carpenter, no-brainers. You watch him play. I mean, Carpenter's a legacy guy, but his dad was a beast from Columbus. I mean, he was a hard-nosed tight end. The offer that I think shows you that Nebraska listens in-state to people that follow the sport or they trust their gut. Like they'll go and get guys that you go, oh, man, that's off the radar. That's going to be a development guy. But they're from Oklahoma or they're from Texas.
Yeah.
Their offer yesterday to Ryman Ziebert from Platteview, I think is a really, really intriguing offer. This kid's a dude. I don't care if he's at a C1 school or not. So he's at Platteview. Man, he's 6'6", 210. In the world that we live in the state where we birth tight ends, not offensive linemen,
right,
that are all 6'6", they don't want to put on an extra 50 to 60 pounds. I like that offer because he's like a Midwest guy. He's like a Big Ten. He strikes me as a Big Ten wide receiver. I mean, he runs a 4.6 40. He's super athletic. But I like those 3 offers yesterday.
He's a track guy too, right?
Yeah. Those 3 offers yesterday, Nebraska trusts their gut in-state and their ability to just on film. Watch this process. Those are smart offers, but they could have a big haul in 2025 of in-state guys once again. But we have to start talking to our women, Nick and Jimmy. I love the tight end. The tight end makes a lot of money. We got to start birthing some offensive linemen in the state.
And that's the main takeaway.
You're right.
Here.
I mean,
you're right. I don't know.
Cam Jurgens came to Nebraska as a tight end.
That's true.
Hey, man, I like catching passes.
Yeah. At some point,
then they're like, you got to frame
Yeah.
them hips and those shoulders. Would you like to eat?
Yeah.
And then look he's going to be a long-time NFL offensive lineman. But we are in a state that loves themselves some tight end. Look at just recently. You had Nelson, you had Ingersson from Papillion La Vista.
Yep.
Who, dude, I saw him play in the Holiday Tournament over the weekend. He's almost too big to be playing basketball, but that basketball is it was a really good sport as well. You had Hollinger, who's going to Illinois. You had Michael Burt over at Prep that's going to Iowa. I mean, we're just in a state that has tight ends. Ladies, we need some bigger kids, or we need to convince our kids to eat.
Yeah,
when they're 6'6", 210.
Yeah.
Hey, it's okay. Rule needs offensive linemen. He wants to get in-state offensive linemen. It's okay. How about 10,000 calories a day, son?
That's my goal now with Reese.
10,000 calories.
Yep, he's gonna be tall. He's gonna be tall. So I'll try to add to the cause.
I think at that age with 10,000 calories, you'll be able to put him in the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade.
I didn't say I'm doing it right now. Kid's really picky.
His friends call him Baby Fridge.
That's funny though. You're right though. Offensive line.
Also, Chase Lofton, who has a plethora of Power 5 offers, who's now at Millard South.
It is. It's crazy because, and again, I go back to when I was playing high school football, when I was covering high school football, and the tight ends just was not that prevalent. Like you didn't have that type of run, and it's like continuing. I truly do think though, like right now, it is a very, lack of a better word, cool. It's a cool position to play. Tight end now, you're not just blocking. Like you're a big part of the offense. You're a big part of the playmaking. Because all those guys that you named, are guys that are not just going to be, put a hand in the dirt and block.
That's true. A lot of the offenses I see now with tight ends.
Yeah. It's creative. It gets you involved.
And then they're not always inline blocking guys. They're like split out a little bit more.
Mm-hmm. But it is interesting as far as offensive linemen go. When you kind of look at different systems and certain body types might be valued in one system compared to the other. But when you get to college, that first freshman year, I mean, how many times have you seen a kid go into his first year, doesn't play at all, he redshirts, and comes back, you see maybe a summer later, and you're like, okay, now he's ready. So you're getting that first year. That's where I'm always curious with the amount of tight ends that, in some of the athletes that Nebraska is throwing offers at. There goes the cross-training part of this too, where you think about like Mooberry, for instance. I'd ask you, is he a tight end? What's he going to be? Because he's a big-bodied guy. There's a lot you can work with there. So is he going in with an idea in mind of this is what I want to do in college, or does Nebraska have a plan of we'd like you to play on the offensive side as opposed to the defensive side? I think that's part of those offers in the pitch to these guys is, look, we know where you probably are most comfortable, but we want to let you know too that if there is, say, a lot of competition, a logjam there, we also think you have the potential to play on the other side of the ball. Like we have a couple examples of that we can, we can work with that. We want to get good players in our system, and then we want to be able to develop you. That's kind of what I'm seeing, and that's kind of what I took away from yesterday too.
And Mooberry's dad was a walk-on from Lexington back in the late 90s. So there would be another run of, we just got through with a recruiting class where they had dads that played at Nebraska. It's, you look at Ben Bramer at Iowa State, who was committed to Nebraska, but was, Frost was his guy. Frost gets fired. Matt Campbell slides in. They get him out of Pierce. Ben Bramer from Iowa State is going to be a Sunday guy.
Mm-hmm.
So I always go back. Like Johnny Mitchell was a freak. Johnny Mitchell was so far ahead of his time and the kind of athlete that was playing tight end in his brief time at Nebraska. You wonder if you could have saved Johnny Mitchell and dropped him in 2010, what he would be like in college and in the NFL. Mm-hmm. And I mean, he got to play in the NFL, but he was so far ahead of his time. He was so far ahead of what Nebraska was doing tight end wise.
Yeah.
Like the Junior Millers and the Johnny Mitchells are very rare. I always, when we talk about tight ends nowadays and in-state guys that look like wide receivers, there's the biggest what if, because he was a baller, man, Matt Harrion.
Oh, God,
Matt Harrion was a little bit ahead of his time as well at that position coming from Pierce, whose career had some good moments, but there were too many bad moments due to injuries.
Yeah. That leg injury against Missouri. And one of our listeners, Chad, who lives in Pierce too, actually tweeted, I want to say it was in the fall, he got inducted into the Pierce Hall of Fame. So congrats to him.
Great guy.
And that was, I remember running into him in Columbus one time too. He was in a wedding party and just kind of shooting the crap with him. Yeah, you are. I mean, like totally good to do. I'd never met him before either. And somebody that was like sitting next to him kind of brought up what we're talking about to him. And he entertained the conversation because, yes, it was devastating. Like, but you could tell he was in a mood that he was willing to talk about it. That guy, his size, but his speed, and he had amazing hands too. Yeah. Like that was the start of like the run. You're right about Johnny Mitchell. And that's what I grew up on, watching the option pass and then seeing, Steve Taylor all of a sudden take a couple steps back.
Todd Milliken.
And Johnny Mitchell wide open, but like the athletic sort of hybrid tight end that you could use for inline blocking, but you could also make it not just part of like your red zone options, but actually part of your passing game too. That's one guy that I would have loved to see what he could have done in the NFL.
I mean, look at how the game's changed today.
Oh, yeah.
Back in the day, Kelsey would have been, he's a great blocker down on goal line.
And remember, and a lot of this maybe goes to like a fantasy football conversation too when you're thinking about tight ends. But I mean, how many people, now it's Travis Kelsey, but how many people always wanted to get Jimmy Graham in his heyday with the Saints, And again, that position, it became very, very sexy.
That's a weapon.
Because you're the big dude, you've got size, but all of a sudden you've got a good 40 time, you can catch. I mean, you are a matchup nightmare because linebackers can't keep up with you. Like it's a cool position. And so the way it's being trained, the way that it's being developed at a young age right now, it's kind of like how, quarterbacks, and then it's almost like quarterbacks and tight ends right now. Like it's more so probably in vogue than wide receivers right now because you basically are a big wide receiver.
and you may have an offense that plays a lot of wide receivers. Yep. But I wonder, like Ingerson, who I really like on the defensive side of the ball, he's got the kind of frame that could be an offensive lineman body, but we're in a state that is producing tight ends. We don't want the kids go, no, I'm good. If I'm 6'6", 235, I want to stay at 6'6", 235. I don't need to be putting on 60 more pounds. Okay, right. I'm good. I want to catch balls.
And to be given the freedom to do that, put on 60 pounds.
Done. And Mooberry's what? Like,
I was tricked when I was young. Put on 60, you'll be fine.
It just means you're healthy.
What's Mooberry's? He's what? He's about 6'5"?
6'4". He's probably a couple of pancakes over 200.
Okay, and if he's going to play linebacker, he's going to put on a little bit more. But
I didn't see. Are they recruiting him as a tight end or as?
That's why I don't
defensive?
know. I know he's listed as a linebacker, but that's where I thought yesterday was kind of interesting because there's that
Nebraska only recruits tight ends. They'll never get anywhere.
Right. Well, if it doesn't work out at tight end, we'll move you to the other side. Of the
Raiola is going to transfer because all they recruit is tight ends.
They need wide receivers.
They don't give him any wide receivers. Jamal Banks commits, and all of a sudden he's becoming a defensive back.
He's going to be a fullback.
All right. Sip joins us next on 1620 The Zone.
Mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone and 1620thezone.com. Now live on Twitch, YouTube, and 1620thezone.com.
The Zone Hotline is powered by 42 Degrees, The Source, by your mom's house.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-575-1897. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS. There is zero risk to you. If we can't reduce your tax debt, then you pay nothing. Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems. We have a 5-star rating on Google and Yelp and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau. You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com or call 800-575-1897. That's 800-575-1897. Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
There's, there to be, beginning, there's hope. They're, being there.
This is Nikki Haley. Look, I'll just say it. Biden's too old, and Congress is the most exclusive nursing home in America. Washington keeps failing because politicians from yesterday can't lead us into tomorrow.
Nikki Haley, a new generation of conservative leadership.
We need term limits, mental competency tests for politicians over 75, and a real plan to defeat China and restore our economy. I've long said Biden's not going to make it, and a vote for Joe Biden is a vote for President Kamala Harris. Republicans need to leave behind the chaos and drama of the past with a new generation and a new conservative president. I'm Nikki Haley, candidate for president, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Nikki Haley for president.
Cards issued by Sutton Bank and Celtic Bank members. FDIC terms and conditions apply.
Are you the decision maker in your company? Consider this. For the first time in decades, there's a better option for a corporate card and spend management platform. Meet Ramp, the only corporate card and spend management system designed to help you spend less money so you can make more. Most corporate credit cards offer points as incentives, but those points amount to less than their worth in real cash value. Ramp's corporate cards offer you cash back, real money in your pocket. Plus, you control who spends what with each vendor. And Ramp's software collects and verifies receipts automatically, which means you'll stop wasteful spending and close your books in hours instead of days. Businesses that use Ramp add up to 5% to their bottom line the first year. If you're a decision maker, adding Ramp could be one of the best decisions you've ever made. And now get $250 when you join Ramp. Just go to ramp.com/sports. Ramp.com/sports. RAMP.com/sports.
Hi, everybody. I'm Gary Sharp, voice of Omaha men's basketball. The Big Sky Summer League Challenge continues as the Mavs go on the road this Saturday to take on Idaho State. We'll be on the air with a pregame show at 6:30 on 1180 The Zone. Tip-off 7 o'clock for the Mavs and Idaho State.
1620 The Zone at 1620thezone.com. And we're back. Mornings with Sharp and Handley. Here's Gary, Nick, and Jimmy on 1620.
And Sipple.
It's like lamb and tuna fish.
Sharp and Handley and Jimmy. It's a fivesome. Good morning. Happy New Year to our man, the myth, the legend, Stephen M. Sipple from On3.com and 93.7 The Ticket. Good morning.
Hey, how are you guys doing?
Hey, we're doing well.
Great,
how
man.
about yourself?
Fine.
Okay.
Good.
All right.
Sound great, man.
Hey, did you know that 1% of 2024 is already over?
Just trying to get ourselves to that college football season.
That's comforting.
Yes, it is.
That's good. Yeah, we're in it. We're in it.
All right.
Don't violate your resolutions yet. It's just ridiculous.
Yes.
You
All right, I got a question. Last night at Pinnacle Bank Arena, the Tominagas are there. Their son does what he's supposed to do. But one of the stories of the night was this young gentleman dressed in a Gore-Tex jacket, sitting next to Trev Alberts, who had flown in to help construct the future roster of Nebraska football. They show him on Husker Vision. He stands up, and the crowd goes crazy. You know who I'm talking about. Sip. Not anything to do with what he might do on the football field as a quarterback. What do we have here with Dylan Raiola? I mean, it's crazy that he flew in to help them with a couple of portal wide receivers that are on campus. I mean, what do we have here with this kid who has never taken a snap at Nebraska yet?
Well, I don't want to overdo that. I mean, I've told Dom I'm not going to be the one that starts putting pressure on Dylan. So I don't want to do that. I think
he's prepared for it, right? This has like been his whole life.
I suppose. Yeah. I mean, but I think the answer is, it's just a simple answer. He's recruiting. I mean, it's just that you bring the highly touted quarterback in when there's I thought there was one receiver in the kid from Texas by way of Wyoming.
Mm-hmm.
Isaiah, is it Nayor?
Nayor, I think, yeah.
Yeah. Now I know he was there.
Yes.
I don't know if anybody else was there, but anyway, it doesn't matter. The critical part of the discussion is, it makes a lot of sense to have, your highly touted quarterback helping in this process. Those are especially helping a part of the team that would help him. And they need it. And he needs help. I mean, I don't know. I've expressed that to a lot of people that, okay, you got him, but you got to put guys around him.
Absolutely.
It's not like we haven't seen. We saw a very prized recruit quarterback at Nebraska that they didn't come close to putting enough around him. And it turned into a sort of a debacle, Adrian Martinez. And he became polarizing for reasons that not because he's polarizing. I just think it's because they didn't put enough around him.
Yep.
But then that's where the polarizing element begins, because that's where people start to debate. But I've always been on the side. All right, now you got a quarterback. Put guys around him. I mean, that's what it's going to be about to me now.
Well, and Sip, is it okay to say, I know, and you mentioned you're not going to be the one to put these ridiculous expectations on him. Gary says, feel like he's probably ready for that. But I think of yesterday as an example. Is it okay to say that he is the face of this football program moving forward?
No, I wouldn't. No, I wouldn't do that. No, God Almighty. I mean, is he 17? Is he 18? I don't know. I mean, no. I mean, anybody who has kids, ready for that? No, I mean,
I don't know, Sip. He's more recognizable than a majority of the roster that has already played here.
Well, Justin Bieber was recognizable, but that didn't make him tour. I mean, right? I mean, in Ready, recognizable and Ready are two largely different things.
No, man, I think Bieber was a banger out of the box for Canada. I think he was ready.
He took it on. He didn't care.
I understand where you're coming from, but no, I'm not doing that to him. First of all, he hasn't thrown a pass yet in college, so he hasn't even won the job. So no, I'm not going to do that. I just think it does make sense to bring him here to help recruit because he does have stat. There is a prominence to his name, and do I think he'll be a good player? Yeah, I do. I think he will, but I've been down this road a lot of times where I've been very certain about guys and I was dead wrong, and I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to go through that all again.
That's fair. We've been burned before. We've all followed Nebraska basketball. So we'll get to. I'm curious on your thoughts on Fred. We'll get to that in a moment. But so he comes in, and you are absolutely spot on. I've been saying this. Yeah, Dylan's going to have the growing pains of a freshman, and he's going to have the wow moments, and he's going to have the moments. But I'm more concerned about the 10 they put on the field around him, because if the 10 around him are good, you can let him grow, and then that's a good start for Nebraska. But as you look at two wide receivers, so Nayor from Texas was in town. Yeah. They put on the show for him last night. Banks is from Wake Forest, who has, Nayor's been out for the last couple of years due to injury in Banks, and so they've got to build. Right. They've got to build that room. Do you think they are in search of a wide receiver one, or in search of a complement to a Bell, a Doss, a Lloyd, and a Coleman?
I haven't seen enough of Nayor. I mean, he put up great numbers at Wyoming, numbers that would suggest he could be a wide receiver one, 12 touchdown catches in one season, get your attention, 44 catches, 870 plus yards in 2021 before he hurt his knee. So I don't know that I'd look at Nayor as a one guy right now, but I might look at Jamal Banks that way. Mm-hmm. Now, it just depends on what you think when you watch him. He doesn't get great separation, but he's a big. I just love these two guys. Anybody who listens to me drone on about size of running backs and receivers understands I love the look of these guys. They're both over 6'3" and above. Banks is 6'4", 205, and he's really good body control guy. They'll both of them. I mean, Sarkisian has commented about Nayor in the red zone. And I love those type of guys deep in the red zone, where in the Big Ten, we just watch any game. I don't care if you're watching Michigan or Purdue. It's really hard to score first and goal at the 8, first and goal at the 9, first and goal at the. It's really hard. But if you have 6'4", 6'3" body control receivers, it really helps. So I love that part of it. I think Banks could come in and be, one of their best receivers. Again, I just don't know. Don't know how the kid from Texas will come off of the knee injury. That remains to be seen. But I love what they're trying here, and I love what they're trying with Dante Dowdell. And I'm not saying these guys; they're not program changing players, but they could be really helpful. Really helpful.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought up Dowdell, because I know that there's significance. It looks like Nebraska's in a good spot, depending on how the visit goes, but a good spot to possibly get him. If you can add a guy like Dowdell into that room, and there's some uncertainty, we know with the injuries to Gabe Ervin especially, but what does that do, in your opinion, to that room, just with the addition of a guy like Dowdell and his size and what he would sort of project?
Well, I'll tell you what I love it, because I think that, come on, what we always hear Matt Rule say, they're going to run downhill. I mean, in the way he envisions the offense, he wants it to be a a downhill running game with play action. And now look what you might have. Gabe Ervin at 6', 225, and Dante Dowdell at 6'2", 218 right now.
Mm-hmm.
You know, could get bigger.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I'm not saying these are all Big Ten backs, but I'm not saying they couldn't be. And I just love the look of it. I think it would take a lot of pressure off Gabe Ervin. You know, and I like Ramir. Ramir's not a prototypical thumper back.
Right.
Emmett Johnson's 5'11", 190. Now he'll get bigger, but I would think Dowdell, if he's as good as I think, and I've watched him a lot. Not, you don't get much from Oregon because he only carried 17 times, but I mean, and I'm not saying he's an all Big Ten back. He reminds me of Darren Dietrich. That's what he reminds me of. That's the comp. And I think he could come in and be a guy that is 1 or 1A with Irvin. And then you have Ramir, who I love. I love him. He's not big, but he's physical. And he's a physical dude. And he's a guy. He's a grown-up. Ramir's a grown-up now.
Hey.
And if you had those three grown-ups, I think you'd be in pretty good shape.
I'm missing a name. You briefly mentioned his name. Are you not engaged with what Emmett Johnson did at the end of the year, that he should be higher?
Runner.
But should he be higher up on your list? You just gave me the depth chart for 24.
He's a tough runner. I mean, I think he's fourth though. I mean, he was fourth this year, and because of injuries, had to be the guy, and he did a good job. I think he did a good job, but he was fourth. I mean, so, and I think that, and think about it, Gary. Two of those guys that he was behind are coming back.
Mm-hmm.
And Irvin, I thought Irvin started to get rolling against Colorado, and then played pretty well before he went down against Northern Illinois, if my memory serves. But I thought he got going. Irvin, I thought he started to show. I thought in that Colorado game, I thought, okay, they got this now. They got him. They got him going a little bit here, the big horse, and this is going to be a problem. And then the turnovers hit at Colorado. We don't know what would have happened. And then, I'm just taking Ramir over Emmett Johnson because he's more accomplished. He is similar, but he's more proven. I'm a Ramir Johnson fan.
I know you are. You have been for a long time. I'm not.
I'm with you, Sip.
You don't have to apologize for it.
Runs with a lot of abandon.
Yeah.
I mean, I love the abandon. He attacks. He's an attacking runner, and he's older than Emmett. So it's nothing against Emmett Johnson, but Ramir's an older, more proven back.
Hey, to finish that running back room, because all of a sudden, if Dowdell commits, and he's going to be a bell cow in 2024, you do have a little depth in that room because we've rattled off 4 or 5 guys. What do you hear about Quentin Ives? We saw him briefly. They didn't want to burn his red shirt. He was an intriguing late pickup when Rule got here out of New Jersey. He's a little bit taller for a running back, 6'3"-ish. What do you hear about him and his future?
Well, Rule loves him. Rule always makes sure to include him in conversation, and I would say comes close to raving about him. I've limited, I've saw him in practice. I like him. He's the sort of back I like. He's a bigger back. He's not a big bulky back, but he's a big angular kid. Tough New Jersey kid. I like that picture. I like the picture they have, especially if they get Dowdell. Because I like that it's, and I do think you need 5 good ones. We saw why. We see it all the time. We see why all the time. So yeah, I like it. I like his potential. Let's see. I'm really interested. I think it was really beneficial. It can be really beneficial to a guy like that to not have to come in and be a factor early. He could learn, get bigger, get stronger. And again, that's the type of back I like. I'm not generally a scat back guy. I just don't, not in the Big Ten. It just doesn't. If you're going to be that type of runner, you better be really tough. I mean, and really willing to run between the tackles. Like Corm's not a big guy, but look at him. I mean,
he's built. Yep.
Yeah, he's built, and he's really willing in terms of toughness. But I've seen guys that just aren't. They just don't. They want to bounce everything, and those are the guys that belong in the MAC conference.
Let me ask you this, Sip, and this kind of circles back to where we started with Dylan Raiola. Okay, we know the potential is there. Danny Kaelin as well.
Yeah.
And Heinrich Harburg. No Chubba Purdy. Heinrich Harburg is still he's a quarterback, yes, but still so much work to be done there. What's your comfort level with that room right now? Still with the ability to go into the transfer portal and how tough it would be to sell somebody, but just where are you overall comfort-wise with the quarterback room for 2024?
Pretty comfortable, because I think those, and I think Harburg, remember, he's only 20, and I've been consistent in saying you got to give him time, a little bit of more time to develop. So I just will continue to say it's a gigantic off season for Heinrich, starting now, basically. Just has to develop all parts of his game. And the reason I'm pretty comfortable, even though those, Kaelin and Raiola are freshmen, is Raiola because of the bloodlines and because I know Dominic, and I know that, I just know the Raiola's urgency is a big part of it, and they're just don't jack around. I mean, they know what's on the line. They know what it takes. And I'm really confident. Kaelin is very mature. I mean, he's a young guy, but he's dealt with this sort of awkward situation very well. When he committed in May, he just went to work. Like, he went to work literally. If there's ever an example of a guy that should be getting paid as a kid for a college program, it was Kaelin. He was recruiting really well. He did a great job. I mean, he threw himself into it. Came to Lincoln when he didn't have to. I love and look at Dylan Raiola doing the same thing. I mean, these guys, it's kind of like a job at that point.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they have to participate. They don't have to. I guess you don't have to. It would really be concerning if they didn't. But they're sort of partially responsible in some ways, you could say, in getting guys to help them, that's what Dylan was doing last night. I don't know if Daniel was involved or not. I know Dylan was. I mean, he's so visible, but that's what this is about now. They can help get those guys around them. And we know what we're dealing with. We haven't seen it. We haven't seen enough 6'4", 6'3" receivers here that can get you those critical catches in the red zone. I haven't seen enough of it. That's why Nebraska's in the predicament that it's in.
Yeah, I don't need to see the Billy Kemps being my number one guy.
Nope.
No offense to Billy Kemp.
No offense to Billy, but yeah, I had that. I really butted heads with one of our guys about that when I was saying in the off season they don't have a number one guy, and he said, "Yeah, they do. It's Billy Kemp." I said, "Well, yeah, Billy Kemp would be 3 or 4 on a really good team.
Yeah,
nothing against him. He's a fine player. He's just not the guy."
He would he would have benefited from a good wide receiver one.
Yep.
Yeah, and we don't have to apologize for this take. He averaged 8.9 yards per reception.
Yeah.
That's not a one.
Hey,
that's not.
We'll get you out of here. Are you all in on what happened at Pinnacle Bank Arena last night and what may happen moving forward?
Yeah, I'm all in because I think this is a team. I mean, it's interesting because it hasn't been that way in Nebraska for a while. It's very much a team, and they're pretty good. They have some pretty good pieces. They're about what I thought, actually. Mass is a little better than I thought, or maybe, yeah, he's definitely better than I thought. Fred did a good job of finding guys in the portal that are good guys. Like, they're good team. Bryce Williams is a good team guy. Mass is he's a shining example of it's not always, when you go into the portal, you don't always get guys that are trouble. Mass is just a great team guy. and they put guys around Tominaga that can score, so it doesn't have to be K-State. You know, they got Williams can score, Mass can score. I think they're going to be formidable throughout the winter. I think that they'll take this to a place where it gets pretty exciting, I think.
Well, I think there's a lot of people after last night and maybe even before that are right there with you. Sip, good to hear from you. Happy New Year. Thanks. Have a good weekend.
Yeah, that was a great conversation, I appreciate it.
Well, thank you.
Thank you, Sip.
I thought the same thing.
Yeah, it was good. I appreciate it.
All right. Have a good day.
See you later.
Yeah.
I like conversation reflections before they're over.
Well, that's him.
Thank you, Sip.
He is him. I can't.
I know you said before, as far as people that are believing or were before.
Yeah, I don't know.
You're putting yourself in there. I get it. I get it.
No.
You're taking a victory lap.
I was in there before.
You were.
I don't know that Indiana pushes you over the hump if you weren't there. But like everything we said this morning and what Sip just basically repeated what we had said.
Yeah.
They're a team. They all kind of fit together. That's probably the best way to describe Nebraska basketball.
See, and
they're not Purdue.
No,
they're not Illinois. Hell, they might not be Wisconsin, but they're at least the 5th or 6th best team in that league,
and they're likable.
Yeah, I don't think that's crazy to say.
For the taken Excedrin, that's important because Fred's first 3 teams were not likable.
No,
because they had unlikable guys that were playing.
It was an unlikable brand of basketball. I do this in college basketball. I tend to overreact to a game or two, especially when I'm not watching a team night in and night out like Indiana. I really looked at what Nebraska did last night as significant because I still have, and I remember we were all watching some of the Indiana Morehead State game in the end of that one where Morehead State was leading Indiana the whole way. Maybe I should have watched the entire game of that one. But watching Kansas, Indiana, and watching how Indiana played against a top-tier national title contending team, they almost pulled that off. I still had a lot of that in my mind watching the game last night. And to see how Nebraska, other than maybe the first 3 minutes where Indiana was using their size, that they didn't even, they just ran away from Indiana. Like, to me, that was significant. You're right. Indiana is extremely inconsistent. But that lasting image I had of Indiana playing a really good team, and then what Nebraska was able to do to them, to me, that was significant. I that was impressive to me. Now, we talk about inconsistencies like Indiana. Can Nebraska avoid that too? Are they playing at that level a little bit more here now going forward to get a taste of that? Again, these are a lot of the things when it comes to discovery about this team moving forward.
All right, one more hour to go. Brian Edwards will finish it up on the back end. Sip said something that not Dylan Raiola, about the running back position that I vehemently disagree with. That we will discuss because that is a position that Nebraska may have the guy that's on campus. Boy, if Dowdell does not commit to Nebraska, what happened? Because all signs point to him saying yes to being the hammer.
Yep,
Mr. Downhill running back guy. We'll get into that in the last hour of Mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone.
More with Gary and Nick after this on 1620 The Zone. Live from the Host Coffee Studio, this is 1620 The Zone. 1620 The Zone. Traffic.
From the Zoom Drain Time-Saving Traffic Center. The earlier accident at 144th and Pacific northbound still has that left lane blocked. If you're heading into that intersection, proceed with caution and do expect some delays. And the earlier slow-moving traffic eastbound on Dodge starting around 156th Street has cleared up, so it should be smooth sailing in that direction for the rest of the morning. Enjoy the rest of your Thursday, everybody. Stay safe and wear those seatbelts. I'm Peter Krenzer.
This time-saving traffic was brought to you by Fernando's. Love Languages. Presented by Fernando's. 2 acts of service.
I made you tacos.
Come and feel the love at Fernando's. 75th and Pacific, 114th and Dodge, and FernandosOmaha.com.
Host is roasting every morning. Host is roasting every day.
Since 1972, family-owned and locally roasted Host Coffee Service has been roasting the finest coffee for businesses and restaurants. If you're ready to change to a better coffee provider, it's time for Host Coffee.
Omaha's best coffee, since 1972. Host Coffee is always roasting something good for you.
Creighton Sports Update. It's a big upcoming weekend for Creighton basketball. The men's team will be at home in the CHI Health Center Saturday at 1 p.m. to take on Providence. Women's basketball hits the road to take on DePaul in Chicago Saturday at 3 p.m. The game will be televised via FS1. To purchase tickets and follow along on all things Creighton athletics, visit gocreighton.com. And that's your Creighton Sports Update.
1620 The Zone proudly supports Creighton athletics.
John Henry's Plumbing, Heating, and Air is now open in Omaha, and we are looking for experienced plumbers and HVAC technicians to join our team. We offer company-paid employee health insurance, provide a company truck with innovative technology, and so much more. We will have open interviews Mondays and Wednesdays at our new location, 9321 J Street. Learn more at calljh.com/careers or call
435-5555. John Henry's Plumbing, Heating, and Air.
Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Subscription required. Price varies based on product and subscription plan.
Hey guys, did you know there's a generic form of Viagra that works just the same, but is 95% cheaper? And you can get it online? Just go to hims.com/radio. Through Hims, you'll get a free medical consultation, discreet shipping if prescribed, a 100% online process, and trusted generic alternatives to the name brands at up to 95% off. That's right. Get generic for Viagra, the same active ingredient as brand name Viagra, but for 95% less. It's the same medication, still prescribed by a licensed medical provider, but with zero copay, no expensive appointments, and no awkward face-to-face conversations. To start your free online visit, you need to go to this exclusive address, hims.com/radio. That's hims.com/radio for your free online visit. hims.com/radio.
Hi, this is Doug Nodgard with Equitable Bank. Great service never goes out of style. When the digital age dawned, many said computers would be able to handle many of the interactions that used to take a person. Boy, were they wrong. How many times have you called your bank and gotten a recording to press 1 or 2? Not at Equitable. Not only does Equitable answer your call in the first ring, it's answered by a human being. That's because Equitable Bank values its customers. Equitable Bank, we take banking personally. Member FDIC.
KOZN Bellevue, Omaha, Council Bluffs. This is 1620 The Zone. Now back to mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone.
All right, good Thursday morning, everybody. As we welcome you back in. You want to get people to come to your restaurant or your business? I guess you sell Stanleys that are specific, special.
Not the cup.
Remember when Yeti was a thing?
Well, Yetis are for dudes.
Yep.
Stanleys are for ladies. So Starbucks has a $50 Stanley that is
$50?
Oh, hey, I don't get it. I mean, I like my Yetis.
I'm a Yeti man. I'm Team Yeti.
Because you're a dude.
Yeah, thanks.
Guys mean dudes.
Thanks, man.
You need to check.
Weekday morning.
So Stanleys, which every 18 to 22-year-old woman you run into has a Stanley. Remember that, like every athlete, a lot of female athletes I see, they're all carrying their Stanley. I don't get it.
All students at it, yeah.
And they're kind of expensive. So Starbucks has a special one that's $50, and there is viral videos of people going nuts, like at the Targets, that are fighting over them.
Yeah.
Here's what you do.
Like
just go to any youth organization and go say, hey, can I look in your lost and found? You'll be able to clean up on Yetis or Stanleys.
Yeah.
But I don't like, there's nothing special about the Stanley, but ladies have it. Maybe,
is it a
like,
status thing?
Like Yetis are, I mean, I get why we have Yetis.
Oh yeah.
I maybe don't understand.
I don't get the Yeti cooler as much
the,
because it costs a lot of money.
Well, they all cost money.
Yeah, but
like the Stanleys are expensive.
Oh yeah, the Stanleys are too. I'm just talking about like the Yeti. Like I'm all team Yeti cooler. Nah, I'm good. I don't need it.
Is it like peer pressure for ladies that you have to have a Stanley?
It's like high school.
Yeah. It's like if you have the option of getting the cheaper version of the Peloton, you get the Echelon. Well, Peloton it's a status thing too. You got a Peloton?
Just lie to them. Does anyone come to your house?
40-ounce pink tumbler with a handle.
Okay, I'll be honest.
It's a water bottle.
I'm Team Yeti. Do I even need a Yeti? Because they make the same types of type of cup.
Yeah, but it keeps it
warm, it does. But there's a lot of other ones that do too.
I don't know.
Like that.
I don't know. I'm
They
Team
make
Yeti.
knockoffs.
I'm Team
1620 the zone, the Yeti.
1620 the Yeti.
Yeah.
No, I
Ooh.
am Team Yeti.
Ooh, we can give away Yetis.
1620 the Yeti
with a football in it.
Hey, here's what parents. Okay, your son or daughter, they're clamoring to be like all the other kids and have a Yeti or a Stanley. Just drop by any local youth organization. Say, hey,
after
I
school
may
care?
have left some stuff here. Can I look in your lost and found?
Yep.
And you just swipe one of those.
Yeah.
And about 6 North Faces.
And then say thank you.
Now, okay, the Yetis.
Daycare
I say
Mhm.
Yetis plural because I have multiple Yetis.
Multiple.
I don't
That's a
have one with a handle. I know Stanleys are very famous for their the Stanley mugs with the handles. So do Yetis have those? They have the handles?
Not any Yetis that I have.
Yeah, none that I have either. I know that's the cool thing with Stanleys. It's got the handle.
I don't have any of these things.
I'm telling you, go out
Yeah.
to like
You need to live a little, Jimmy.
Hey, go out to OSA and go, hey, my kid played basketball here.
You're
over the
right. I
weekend.
used to do something like that.
There's something we may have left some. Can I look at your lost and found?
Yeah, go to like any youth community center and you'd be able to do that.
Okay. So Steve Sipple was completely wrong about something. I don't know how anybody can look at Nebraska's roster for 24 and their current running back room and say Gabe Ervin won.
No.
Are you super comfortable with that?
No.
So no knock on Gabe Ervin. There's glimpses of what he can be. Remind yourself, he had a dislocated hip.
Yep.
That knocked him out of the Northern Illinois game. That's not an
Also had an
injury
ACL
that you go, okay. Well, there's more. So he has been injured every single year.
Mm-hmm.
He had the major knee injury at Oklahoma that he came back from. But then the following year, he missed 4 games during the season due to injury. And now he has the dislocated hip. I don't know how you can say that Gabe Ervin will be 1A or 1B at running back. Maybe he will. That's great. But some guys are injury prone, unfortunately, and I can't ride or die with them. I also don't, in the running back discussion, and Nebraska should be able to close the deal with Dante Dowdell, who, doesn't have a lot of tread in the tires from Oregon. But he's 6'2", he's 218, and there's a lot to like about him. I mean, coming out of Mississippi, he was a 4-star running back. You get him in here, and he's a hammer. And then, I guess the reluctancy of some that Emmett Johnson should be given an opportunity. I like that pairing. I don't know why that pairing wouldn't be successful in 2024. Here's the thing. The part of Nebraska football that we don't know is how much a competent quarterback makes wide receivers better or a good running back. I don't think that position was coached very well last year. I didn't like the rotation. It seemed off all year. And even the head coach gave you brief instances where we don't know what a good running back will do to that quarterback or that wide receiver, that offensive line. Could erase a lot of mistakes. We don't know what a good wide receiver, how much he'll benefit from a quarterback that throws him open or throws the ball in a good place to catch it. I look at Malachi Coleman, for example. Malachi Coleman has a lot of pressure on him in the spring. Malachi Coleman has to have a great offseason. He has to say, let's play football. But Malachi Coleman, I'm gonna give him the little, okay, I'm curious now. When he was a junior at Lincoln East, he had a really good quarterback, Noah Walters. Isn't that where we found out about Malachi Coleman? When they weren't as good at quarterback at Lincoln East his senior year, what happened?
Dip in production.
Nebraska wasn't that good at quarterback last year. What happened?
He played, but not highly production.
So now he'll have what we think is a good quarterback. What does that do to him? That's the wild card in all this. We don't know what a good running back does for the other 10 or vice versa. And with wide receiver and even a quarterback. How much a competent quarterback makes everyone look better because they were thrown off because things didn't go like they're supposed to go. But don't overthink running back, in my opinion. I just can't ride with Gabe Ervin because there's too much of an injury history there that you get going, you get the season started, and boom, 3 games in, he's on the shelf again.
I would echo those sentiments. And this, look at the running back room as a whole. Okay. And let's, for this conversation's sake.
Well, yeah, look at it. Who's without an addition, who's the top running back right now with what you know, what you've seen, what you know?
For me personally, it's Emmett Johnson.
Okay.
Because I know I'm with Sip on Ramir. I like Ramir. He's not a 3-down guy though, but I like Ramir. And so I think there's playmaking ability in there. I think you can be creative with how you want to use him in the offense. And so he's a weapon. Gary, I was still reluctant on Gabe Ervin going into the season last year because, yes, the injuries and there was the ACL that took place, but even during that 2022 season, he wasn't getting on the field. I don't think that was necessarily because, the coaching staff was so out of whack and Mark Whipple was so out of whack that they just didn't know how to use him too when he was available. Like I felt like for Gabe Ervin, there is a moment where I want to see him when he gets to the next level to show explosiveness. I've never seen that with him. And maybe that was going to be there before he got injured his freshman year. And maybe it isn't there for him. So if I think of Dowdell and Gabe Ervin, I'm thinking of a hammer and a hammer. I don't see that as a change of pace guy. I don't understand.
I just want Kwan Lacey back.
That would be nice. I don't understand a lot of, I'll be honest, a lot of the love that Gabe Ervin gets because we haven't seen it. I know what he can be, what we hoped he could be, but we haven't seen it. So I would have to not have Emmett Johnson in front of him right now. Emmett Johnson, in my opinion, gives you a better dynamic at tailback than what Gabe Ervin gives you right now.
I'm curious for our listeners or anybody else. What's if you're hesitant on Emmett Johnson, why?
Is it because he doesn't have like the explosive speed? Like I think it's
played enough last year.
He did.
Yeah, he's not a
Emmett
burner. Johnson is not RB1.
Yeah, he's not a burner.
An RB1B.
Yes.
Yeah. There's nothing wrong with that.
Absolutely.
All right. Here is Chris in Vegas who wants to jump into the Yeti Stanley conversation. Good morning.
Happy New Year, gentlemen.
Happy New Year to you.
Hey, I can give firsthand testament to the Yetis, and you are correct. Stanleys are definitely female-oriented. Oh my gosh, the women that have switched over is ridiculous. But the Yetis, I'm an outdoorsman. I go hunting and fishing and everything, and I live in Southern Nevada. It gets quite warm here. I have used the Yetis. I can personally attest that in 90-plus weather, that the ice will stay cold for like 17 days.
17 days?
Out camping. Yes, so they are worth the investment if you're into that stuff. And the crazy thing is, too, is I cook a lot for churches and such like that, and I've used it as like a warmer to keep stuff warm. You fill it up full of hot water for like a half hour.
Okay.
Empty it out, and it keeps the food warm for a long time in there.
Hey, my coffee always stays hot in a Yeti.
Yeah. And running back wise,
I love this. Yes.
Hey, speaking of hotness.
Hey, before you go any further, Chris, I want you to weave Yeti and Stanley into the discussion about running backs.
Wow.
You don't have to. I was just kidding.
Stanley's a flash in the pan at the moment. So maybe that would be Emmett Johnson.
Oh,
whoa!
Flawlessly done.
What, Chris?
Yeti though. I don't know if we have anybody on there who's a standout.
That's fair.
Or consistent,
But back to, so what's your reluctance? And again, I'm not saying Emmett Johnson is the next coming of the great I-backs, but he's at least worthy enough of getting some run. What's your hesitancy on him?
It's not necessarily hesitancy. I'm a Ramir fan. I want to see him get the chance. I don't think he ever got a fair shot under Scott. And then the injuries popped up on him, but hopefully he's back and he's as good as he was before. That's personal wise.
That would be a nice little chess piece to use in the offense if he's back.
Oh, I agree with you wholeheartedly. Yep. And if they use him consistently too, not here or there.
Yep. Chris, thanks for the. Go ahead.
No, I think they've been misused a lot. I think they get pulled too soon sometimes. They don't get into the flow.
Antonio Pierce or Jim Harbaugh, next Raiders coach?
I could care less. I'm a Chargers fan.
Hey!
Oh, that sucks for you.
Who's the next Chargers coach?
It does. I know. Trust me. I don't know. They're saying Harbaugh, but Chargers need new ownership. I hate to say
I agree, and they should move back to San Diego.
Mm-hmm.
I wholeheartedly agree.
Bam.
They almost moved here.
To Omaha or Las Vegas?
Vegas.
Oh.
The Chargers almost moved here. The old mayor, Oscar Goodman, wanted them here.
Yeah. Yeah, Raiders fit a little bit better.
The Raiders everywhere. Raiders fans in every city.
All right, Chris, I always appreciate the phone call. Thank you.
Take care, guys. Bye.
Show me your lightning bolt. Emmett Johnson, the flash in a pan. Stanley. He's a Stanley mug.
He asked him to weave it into it. He
No,
did.
it was good.
Stanley's might be here to stay, though.
Yeah, I think they're the new kid on the block. Not even new anymore.
They're the pink North Face circa 2004 from experience.
A pink North Face?
Oh, it was always the girls came with it. It was like standard uniform.
Really?
Yeah,
wow,
you got a pair of UGG boots and a pink North Face.
The UGG boots, yeah, I'm with you. The pink North Face.
Yeah.
I don't know if that made it up here to Omaha.
Yeah. It was cold.
Yeah, but I don't feel like I saw a lot of pink North Face. Uggs, you're spot on.
Oh, yeah. They grew off trees in college.
Just North Face coats in general. Yes. But pink?
Oh, yeah. Oh, a certain demographic.
DC writes in. Good to hear from DC. Happy New Year. My wife has about 7 Stanleys. I don't understand having more than one water bottle. I have a blender bottle, and that's it. She came home this weekend with a Stanley holster. It's like it's like an around-the-shoulder fanny pack, and it has pockets for phones and stuff that holds onto her Stanley.
Oh
It's
gosh.
unreal.
Like the cell phone clip back in the day.
DC, I think we need to go out.
Wow.
Eric writes in, the Yeti running back. The best way I can put it is Ramir is our Stanley because he's the second best to the OG. But we don't have a Yeti because we don't have a cup worth spending the money on.
Mm.
Okay.
There's the takeaway here. Nebraska needs to find
like
their
it.
Yeti.
Yep.
Does Ramir Johnson need to announce that he's coming back? Is there any?
I'd feel better
step
about
away
that.
for a couple of weeks and
No, he
there
never
was-
confirmed anything.
I mean, is it just assumed that Ramir?
Yeah.
And I don't know anything. I'm just
Yeah.
he's on scholarship, and I don't think they're not running him out the door. But
I think they're.
is it just assumed
yeah.
that Ramir Johnson's coming back?
Yeah, it's assumed because there's really been nothing that Matt Rule has like given you concrete or Ramir, or as we like to say these days, his camp has given you anything concrete. I would feel better if he did. I like Ramir. I do.
It'll be 10 days from now. We'll find out who's coming back and who's not.
Mhm.
Also, we were talking earlier about recruiting. Junior Day is the weekend before school is back in session. So Nebraska may get a commitment in the month of January, another commitment for the class of 25 from an in-state player having Junior Day.
It's always good.
Still just really, really disappointed in Emmett and the Stanley.
You're still hung up on the water bottle.
I am.
No.
But no, you asked the question, and I totally agree as far as the premise of it. And that is, if you're not high on Stanley, Jesus, on Emmett Johnson, where's your hesitancy?
Hey, I've come fully around.
But you admitted it.
I didn't. When they recruited him, I thought, man, what is Frost?
Yeah.
He let Ron Brown convince him to recruit a guy out of Minnesota who Minnesota didn't even offer a scholarship to.
And they go
what
after
are we
running backs
doing
all the time. Yeah.
I thought they'd throw him on the scrap heap. I gave him credit last year. I threw his flowers towards him in the fall because he got his opportunity and he proved it. He got on the field first on special teams. I think he's done enough to be in the mix. Jamie says, well, now we've had the Yeti dealer call the show. I don't know what Chris does for a living, but he is an outdoorsman.
That was a good endorsement of 17 hours.
He did make me think
of
of
temperature
Better
control.
Call Saul episode where they're in
17
the desert.
hours might be a little bit of a stretch.
Yeah. I know I've accidentally left my Yeti with like still some coffee in there in my car overnight, and I got it the next day and it wasn't still hot.
You drink it?
No.
You
Well,
drink
I
some
mean,
coffee
I
or-
did once just because I wanted to see if it was still hot. So I took a sip. And I'm like, ooh, no. It wasn't like cold, but it was like room temperature.
But did your car smell like coffee?
No, it didn't.
That's the worst.
No, kept it sealed in there.
Telling you when it
Hey,
spills.
Hey, the other day I went and I had to drive across town, so I picked up La Casa, and so I had it sit in the front seat. Next morning, got in the car.
Yeah.
A car smelled like La Casa.
That's got to smell too.
Not bad.
There's some pizza.
No, good smell.
Yeah, I know.
Not every smell is bad.
No, you're right.
There are some smells, Nick, that you'll experience that aren't bad.
Thanks.
They could be sponsors for bowl
Smell the
games.
roses.
No, you're usually pizza like Mama's. If I'm taking that home the next morning, I get in the car. I don't even leave in the car.
Oh,
get in there the next morning, especially in like when it's cold out. It seems to settle in there. It's good.
Or when it settles.
It's like
in
reliving the
middle of
experience.
July.
It's like, is it too early at 5 a.m. for pizza?
Iowa JD has a question for the floor. Honest opinion: if Iowa has Joe Moorhead as OC, would you be excited by that?
I'd be more excited than what the current situation was.
I still think he'd be Kirk Light, but yeah.
He's a good play caller. Terrible fit at Mississippi State. That would intrigue me.
I think it'd be a step up from Paul Chryst.
Why I'm intrigued that Iowa has an Oregon quarterback that's going to visit.
What do they know?
Mm-hmm.
They have
suggested here first.
Nobody really talks about Iowa's quarterback room. Jeez. All right, 9:25. Now we're gonna get crushed again by the Iowa fan because we're taking shots at them.
Check our notifications here on the Sharp and Handley.
Caitlin Clark.
Not yet.
Caitlin Clark begs for calls.
She's palms up, girl.
What? What did I say?
Who did they beat last year? Who did they beat?
Well, they lost to LSU in the national championship.
Did they not learn? Iowans can learn a lot from Nebraskans. Not all wins are created equal. We're smarter. 9:26. Mornings with Sharp and Handley. 16:20 The Zone.
Gary Sharp, Nick Handley, and Jimmy Chavez. Mornings with Sharp and Handley. Weekdays 6 to 10. On 1620 The Zone and 1620thezone.com. Previously on The Crossover.
I want to hear the thank you at the end of it, too.
No, thank you.
No, thank you. When you order a Big Mac at McDonald's.
No, thank you.
Thank you, caller Connor.
Good job, Connor.
No, thank you.
Maybe it was Connor Stallion. No,
it could have been.
Mornings with Sharp and Handley. The Connor Happer Show. Unsportsmanlike conduct. 6A to 6P. 1620. The Zone. Your Omaha area forecast from the Godfather's Pizza Weather Center and KETV Newswatch 7 on 1620 The Zone.
Patchy freezing fog this morning will give way to mostly cloudy skies for your Thursday, staying seasonally chilly with a high this afternoon in Omaha of 33. Winds remain light out of the southeast up to 10 miles an hour. Light winds continue overnight, staying cloudy and chilly with a low of 26. I'm meteorologist Caitlin Harvey with KETV Newswatch 7.
Hi, this is Doug Nodgard with Equitable Bank. Great service never goes out of style. When the digital age dawned, many said computers would be able to handle many of the interactions that used to take a person. Boy, were they wrong. How many times have you called your bank and gotten a recording to press 1 or 2? Not at Equitable. Not only does Equitable answer your call in the first ring, it's answered by a human being. That's because Equitable Bank values its customers. Equitable Bank, we take banking personally. Member FDIC.
Hey, Tapper, for the FanDuel Sportsbook, we are headed into Week 18 of the NFL season. Playoffs are gearing up, and it's time to get on the action with the FanDuel Sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed, and all you have to do is place a $5 bet. So heading into Week 18, everything's on Sunday. Pick a game or just pick a bet. Anything across the board, a $5 bet. It's $150 in bonus bets. That's win or lose. That's your incentive. Get to the FanDuel Sportsbook app. And when you get there, you'll find that there's same game parlays, live betting, and there's this new thing called the Explore tab where you can check out bets that other players around the country are wagering. That and plenty more on the FanDuel Sportsbook app. Head to FanDuel.com/Happer and make your first bet a layup. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. 21 and over, present in Iowa. First online real money wager only. $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued with non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-BETS-OFF.
Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Subscription required. Price varies based on product and subscription plan.
Hey guys, did you know there's a generic form of Viagra that works just the same, but is 95% cheaper? And you can get it online? Just go to hims.com/radio. Through Hims, you'll get a free medical consultation, discreet shipping if prescribed, a 100% online process, and trusted generic alternatives to the name brands at up to 95% off. That's right. Get generic for Viagra, the same active ingredient as brand name Viagra, but for 95% less. It's the same medication, still prescribed by a licensed medical provider, but with zero copay, no expensive appointments, and no awkward face-to-face conversations. To start your free online visit, you need to go to this exclusive address, hims.com/radio. That's hims.com/radio for your free online visit. HIMS.com/RADIO.
Now back to mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone.
So the college football playoff for next year, the TV rights are out there. They're going to have a lot of money.
Let's go Fox.
Okay, so
just need some competition. We don't need it all.
I imagine they will split it up. They will not give it all to
Yeah.
one, and they will alternate the championship game.
Yeah, like the Super Bowl.
But if Fox won, and let's say they go with Fox's, because Fox will throw a enormous amount of money, and Fox may want the whole thing, would ESPN still cover it?
They would, but not as feverishly.
They would acknowledge it.
It'd be like hockey for a better part of
It'd be
2
acknowledged,
decades.
but it wouldn't be all in coverage.
They would cover the SEC, and that's it.
If they weren't carrying any of the playoff games, would game day go on the road?
Gosh, they'd still have to.
So
They'd have to. Yeah, they would.
I think the smartest thing to do is to let Fox and ESPN both have it.
Yep.
And you split it up, and maybe one network one year gets the early games, the one gets the late, or you just run it like CBS and Fox, and each get a playoff, and then one gets the championship game. But there's going to be so much money that will be thrown out there. ESPN is tied into a lot more than Fox is with properties. You know, Fox doesn't have like the NBA or the NHL.
Some
I don't know if
Major League Baseball.
but ESPN college football is one of their things.
Yeah. That's the only way to do it. Like, to think that.
Does Gus get new eyes if Fox gets it? Because that might be needed.
To think if ESPN, like, you would all of a sudden, you would abandon game day if you didn't have it. Ooh. I mean, it's already, I think that the game day product itself
depends who's playing.
Not well received as much as it used to be. That would sink it. That would be one of the most petty things you could do as a network when it comes to not having something that you lean into a lot in the college football world and your college football product, just because your network is not covering it or is not hosting it, that you would all of a sudden, what you claim to be your biggest pregame show when it comes to the sport and the OG of all pregame shows in college football, that all of a sudden you would not do that.
A big nude kickoff in January.
Yeah. Let me help you out there.
No, because we've been seeing it on my feed. There is a shooting at Perry High School, Perry, Iowa, which is just outside of Ames. You probably all have driven by the exit to go to Perry. If you're driving north on I-35.
Oh, boy.
Just north of Des Moines. There's a shooting at the high school. Multiple law enforcement and medical services have responded to the scene. So I just wanted to see what they were showing. Yeah. It's it's a smaller high school.
Jesus.
I was thinking that it might take some of the local coverage, like WHO or KCCI.
Oh, yeah, it's on CNN right there. Yeah.
All right. All right. On that note, well, we'll continue to monitor that. I don't think there's much information other than there is the shooting at the high school over in Perry.
Some first day back.
In central Iowa, just not very far from Ames, a little north of Des Moines. So that's something that will, especially since it's close to us, will be part of the discussion all day. J.J. McCarthy was part of the discussion yesterday. We were kind of throwing out Harbaugh. If he loses, does he come back? If he wins, it's
a great question.
It's easy to ride off to the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
And remember, he's in that age where he's probably never coming back to college. And I mean, once he came back to his alma mater, is he going to go somewhere else?
Yeah.
No.
But if he loses, does he come back? Because if they win and Harbaugh leaves, is the investigation over and it just goes up into the sky and
If he
Harbaugh
leaves?
goes to the NFL?
Yeah, I think it does.
Or if he stays and they lose, does the investigation move forward? And there's a lot on the line for Michigan on Monday night. National championship, whatever happens with their head coach, whatever happens with the program, and what kind of a seat Connor Stallions has. But I really thought
good on him for going to the game.
No, should he have been at the Sugar Bowl?
Yes.
Oh, touche.
If you're still doing this right, he should have been at the Sugar Bowl.
He should have been.
Yeah.
Yeah. They were expecting him there though. Probably weren't expecting him at the Rose Bowl.
I mean, that was a no-brainer that people in the Michigan Blue fan base, they know who he is. So I wasn't surprised that he got his
one of
picture
us.
taken.
He's a
He
Michigan
had good
man.
seats. Harbaugh hooked him up.
I have come back to the Jim Harbaugh might actually stick around in college. And I don't know if Monday's outcome has any bearing on it, to be honest. And earlier in the season, I thought, especially with a lot of the NCAA investigation and him just continuing to grow tired of having to answer to them and a lot of the different elements that came with, not being truthful and things that were kind of ticky-tack during COVID. I just don't think he really believes that.
How much will the Raiders throw at him?
Oh, he's going to have options. He'll have options. There's no question, but it's just, and maybe it's just because he is that quirky guy. He's putting up the type of front that it just seems like he's genuinely having a great time with this football team. And maybe it's just with this team and not necessarily with the job in its totality, but I feel like he's more engaged with everything of being the Michigan head football coach than he was before, of being the CEO. So does that mean he's doing that because he is ready to now finally bid farewell to the college game, or is he more at peace with college football? I'm starting to believe that he's more at peace with college football. And also, if you're growing tired of a lot of the things you have to put up with when it comes to the NCAA, well, there could be changes. Now, will Jim Harbaugh be around when those changes take place, having a new subdivision and whatnot? I don't know. He's 60 years old, but I think he also knows he's not alone with people who, not necessarily saying they cheated, but are also kind of growing tired of some of those restrictions that apply. I don't know. I think I at least believe that he's a little bit more at peace with being a college football head coach than I thought he was before. So I think he's still in the college game.
I think if he sticks around, the investigation continues.
I would agree with that. But I don't know if it's going to be – I still think the Big Ten did the NCAA a huge favor by giving him that 3-game suspension where they don't have to now do the added-on suspension or they have to further it anymore. They'll have some type of conclusion, but I honestly think the Big Ten did him a favor.
I think the NCAA has one more.
They got one more in them?
One more in them before they completely just –
and it's going to be
and that's going to be Michigan.
It's going to be the grand finale fireworks show.
The thing that rubs me the way they beat Alabama, I tip my cap. I mean, that's a good football team that is playing on Monday night.
It was a good game.
Well, it was Captain Obvious moment. But the way they beat Alabama, they beat a fellow bully. Okay?
Yep.
So
they outbullied the bully.
I get respect for them in that way. The thing that really is starting to bug me about Michigan is for a program that says we don't listen to the critics, boy, you guys use that and you use that as a chip on the shoulder.
Right.
You cannot in one sentence say, I don't listen to what you guys say, and then say, it's us against the world.
Yeah. And then J.J. McCarthy talking about, 80% of college football cheats.
No, I agree with that.
No, he's right.
I do.
I think he's right. But you're bringing it up. That means
legally they cheat.
Yeah, legally. You're bringing it up. That means you're also very much aware of the narrative and listening to it.
You know what? If you're not trying to steal signs, I don't know what you're doing.
No, it's just
now there's a way to do it, and there's stuff that is legal that you can do it. What Michigan allegedly did was not legal.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, if it happens in all kinds of sports.
Yes.
I mean, baseball, you sit in the dugout, and the starting pitchers that have anything to do that day, they sit there and they stare at the third base coach.
Yeah,
they stare into the dugout. I mean, it happens. I know of an eight-year-old youth league that they have a parent that pays attention to the signs that the third base coaches give.
Yeah.
This is 8-year-old travel baseball. It happens.
Well, they tend to tip it off
so
more
when he
at
said that
age.
yesterday, because of he's a Michigan guy saying that, people are up in arms. He's right. 80% of teams steal signs.
He is right.
It's just some teams go about it a different way. But I don't know.
They do.
They listen to their critics. They use it as fire. Good on them. I mean, it drives them. I also give them credit. As much crap that has gone on this year with all the noise, they are loyal and they are focused.
Mm-hmm.
But they also have to realize that this will be the fourth time in the playoff that we've had a 1 versus 2. One's never won. Number 2 is 3-0.
Washington using that as a chip.
Well, Washington has more of a case to use as a underdog. Because they have been.
They have
been.
been.
4 of the last 5 games they've been an underdog in.
They had to stay undefeated just to even have a chance.
It was kind of funny when they beat Oregon in the regular season. It was almost like people lost faith in them after that. Because, again, they didn't play great afterwards. They still won games. But people, even though they beat Oregon head-to-head, felt like Oregon was the better team going into the Pac-12 championship game.
I did.
I think a lot of people
But I wonder what happens when you have played with a chip on your shoulder and you meet the other team that has a chip on their shoulder as well.
That has the legitimate.
You go.
Oh, there's a lot of bitterness there.
I mean, is this the Spider-Man meme? All right. Brian Edwards.
A lot of bitterness.
Brian Edwards stops by. We'll get what he thinks about the Michigan-Washington game. The line is still, 4.5, around that range?
Yes.
I think I'd stay around there.
I have not checked that since cashing in on the Nebraska-Indiana game last night. Thank you very much.
Oh.
Also, the Omaha-Northern Arizona game. I was giving out advice. I was Jim Feist yesterday afternoon.
Yeah, it's 4.5 Michigan.
What do you think about the spread? That spread's pretty good. I think I would take that spread. Feel good about how they're playing. 1-800.
What was Bellevue West laying last night?
Bellevue West in that game was a 6-point favorite.
6 point, okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Did it with experience, 4 straight trips to the Metro Final.
Yeah, that all matters.
Now I'm going to need to check in with Foe Doug Woodard about the futures for Class A after the Metro Holiday Tournament because there's been a lot of parity. There's been a lot of movement.
Yeah.
Now, how big of a favorite is Bellevue West to win the boys' state basketball?
Yeah, were you able to get a value pick with the futures pick before the season started? Now it looks good compared to what the odds would be right now. Hope you got that. Got that ticket early.
All right. B-Eds coming next. Mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone.
Mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone and 1620thezone.com with Gary Sharp and Nick Handley. Omaha's most listened to all sports radio station. Again and again and again. 1620 The Zone.
What's holding you back from learning the language you've always wanted to know?
Too hard.
Takes too long.
Not with Babbel. Babbel's lessons take just 15 minutes a day.
15 minutes isn't long.
Nope. And they're fun. So you don't realize you're learning a language, but you are. In 3 weeks, you're able to start having conversations. And Babbel's lessons are built around real life.
And with Babbel, it isn't hard.
It's perfect.
Start learning a new language today. Go to Babbel.com. That's Babbel.com.
Did you know there's dust floating around your home?
Really?
Yeah. Dust starts on hard surfaces like shelves and ceiling fans. And when you walk by, dust starts to move, compromising the quality of the air you and your family breathe.
So what do I do?
Get Swiffer Heavy Duty Duster. Swiffer Heavy Duty Duster is the fast and easy way to trap and lock dust.
Before it gets into the air.
Exactly. So you can just... Swiffer Heavy Duty Duster, proud partner of the American Lung Association.
Cards issued by Sutton Bank and Celtic Bank, members of FDIC. Terms and conditions apply.
Are you the decision maker in your company? Consider this. For the first time in decades, there's a better option for a corporate card and spend management platform. Meet Ramp, the only corporate card and spend management system designed to help you spend less money so you can make more. Most corporate credit cards offer points as incentives, but those points amount to less than their worth in real cash value. Ramp's corporate cards offer you cash back, real money in your pocket. Plus, you control who spends what with each vendor. And Ramp's software collects and verifies receipts automatically. which means you'll stop wasteful spending and close your books in hours instead of days. Businesses that use Ramp add up to 5% to their bottom line the first year. If you're a decision maker, adding Ramp could be one of the best decisions you've ever made. And now get $250 when you join Ramp. Just go to ramp.com/sports. Ramp.com/sports. ramp.com/sports.
Omaha Maverick women's basketball is back at home, and they take on University of Montana Saturday at 2 at Baxter Arena. Hear all of the Omaha women's action against the Montana Grizzlies Saturday at 2 o'clock on 1180 The Zone.
What's holding you back from learning the language you've always wanted to know?
Too hard.
Takes too long.
Not with Babbel. Babbel's lessons take just 15 minutes a day.
15 minutes isn't long.
Nope, and they're fun.
Fun isn't hard.
Right. Babbel's interactive lessons, podcasts, games, and more make it fun and engaging, so you don't realize you're learning a language, but you are. And Babbel's lessons are built around real life. You can choose from topics like travel, business, relationships, and more. You'll learn what matters most to you. Plus, Babbel's lessons are designed to get you speaking right away. In 3 weeks, you're able to start having conversations.
Just 3 weeks? Even better.
Since Babbel's lessons are designed by language experts and voiced by real native speakers, you'll get the accents just right and be able to carry on conversations with confidence.
Learning a language with Babbel doesn't take long.
And with Babbel, it isn't hard.
It's perfect.
Start learning a new language today. Go to Babbel.com. That's Babbel.com. Babbel.com.
And we're back. Mornings with Sharp and Handley. Here's Gary, Nick, and Jimmy on 1620 The Zone.
All right, it's our Thursday friend, another year with Brian Edwards, the senior handicapper from VegasInsider.com. You can follow him on Twitter at VegasBEdwards. Happy New Year, Brian. Welcome back.
Happy New Year, fellas. How we doing?
Good. I do not envy you as a handicapper with these bowl games, with all the opt-outs, and then week 18 in the NFL, because we have 14 backup quarterbacks that are starting, and there have been backup quarterbacks starting, but now we're to a point where the backup quarterback is not playing because they want to save him for the playoffs. I do not envy you trying to figure out lines for week 18 or these bowl games that do not surround the playoff.
Yeah, week 18 in the NFL is just like the bowl game. The main part of handicapping is just figuring out who's going to be in uniform or not. And, with the bowl games, it was, sometimes like I didn't really believe Malik Neighbors was going to play until I saw him on the field warming up. And we could say the same for more than a dozen guys throughout the bowl season.
What's this one? So far with the opt-outs?
Yeah, I think so. You had the Frank Harris stuff and the line move for UTSA. Mm-hmm. You had the line move for the Kansas game by what did he get? I want to say it went from 12 to, 7 or 7. I think that the lowest got was 7.5 based on Jason Bean rumors that he had been really sick. Yeah. And then he comes out for warm up and then he goes back in and the rest of the team comes out and they got another quarterback taking 2B1 snaps. And so, Twitter's running wild with speculation. And then Bean throws, what did he throw for? 6-7 touchdowns to that effect. And so, yeah, it was just, I actually I did well, though. I did well. Nice. Other than, my biggest bet was on Alabama and not go well. But I had done really well about, a week and a half leading into that.
All right, let's jump into Monday night. We get Washington, Michigan. We get the Big Ten National Championship game. Michigan is a favorite. Washington's been an underdog for a while, and it doesn't faze them. I love it. We got 2 unbeaten teams, 1 versus 2. What side are you leaning on for Monday night in Houston?
So right now I've made a small play on Washington plus 4.5. I think we've got the quarterback advantage. I think it's well last week. But I think we got the best quarterback and 3 great wide receivers, a terrific offensive line. Now, Dylan Johnson is kind of the reason I'm only on it kind of small right now, and I know they're saying he's going to play, but it's kind of like I was talking about it. I got to see some video footage of him looking pretty good for me to, think that with any confidence. And I was reading what concerns me, especially seeing the way Michigan dominated Alabama's O-line last week, and the 5 first half sacks, 6 total for the game, 2 TFLs. Is Ellen Johnson one of the best for Pro Football Focus? He's one of the best pass blocking running backs. And, these two guys, and they don't have any, well, first off, they had some injuries, so their depth is thin at running back. But look, Tybo Rogers, they're back up 38 carries, 163 yards. Will Nixon, 31 carries, 194 yards. I mean, that is very low usage for RB2 and RB3. These guys don't have much experience behind Johnson. So that is a concern. But Washington's got one of the best O-lines in the country. And Penix just puts it on the numbers, 8 out of 10 throws, or 9 out of 10, it seems like. And they got great receivers. And DeBoer at Washington has been an underdog 5 times, won outright all 5 times. Going back to his last year at Fresno, 7-0 against the spread, 6 outright wins his last 7 as a head coach as an underdog.
NFL-wise, I wanted to get into, and again, as we know, sometimes this is not a fun handicapping week, but let's look at first the Saints and Falcons right now. Which way are you leaning in this week 18 matchup?
I'll get there one second. Let me backtrack and say that I like Michael Penix's over passing yards props, 297.5. He's had 306 or more, 10 of 14 games. And in late November, I think he was banged up. He had hurt ribs there, and they didn't throw it as much. And so, yeah, I think his low yardage in those games had a little bit to do with injury. So I do like that over 297.5. As for the Saints, yeah, they've won 3 of 4 straight up in the ATS. And the only loss in that stretch was on a short week, which is always advantageous to the home team. And they had to go across 2 time zones all the way to L.A. For a Thursday night game. That's their only loss here in the last month. And their last 3 home wins have been by 18, 22, and 7. The Falcons are 2-5, both straight up and against the spread in 7 road games. And they got killed against the Jags over in London. And that's not counted for that 2-5 road stat. So I like the Saints -3. Actually, my apologies. I haven't looked. Although it lost last week, it had hit in 4 in a row, and it's been good all year. It's Kyle Pitts' receiving.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, where's the Pitts prop?
Well, it was an L last week, but I'm sure I'll probably be back on it as long as it's 40 or less, which it probably will be.
What if you wake up Monday morning and your favorite NFL team
I know exactly where you're going
says that Arthur Smith is coming back?
Oh, I thought you were going to say that Carolina beat Tampa and Atlanta beat New Orleans.
Well, that's the crazy thing about that. Just shows you about that division that the Falcons are still alive.
Yeah, we're horrible.
It's going to be a drop.
It is so lame. It's so lame for any fan of a team to literally want the team to lose, even if winning and if you get the help from Carolina gets you to the playoffs. But that is where I am 1,000,000%. This clown has got to go. And if we lose and he's retained, I mean that's considering burn the Falcons card, material. Obviously, I probably wouldn't do that, but hopefully not.
Because Black Monday is coming. Is this Belichick's last game as a slight favorite against the Jets?
I think it's his last game as the Patriots head coach. I think you would probably get picked up by somebody. But look, this first off, the Pats have been playing great defense for 2 months. Okay, they've won 2 of their last 4. They've covered all 4. But even in the 4 games they lost, back prior to this 4-game, ATS 4-0 ATS run, they gave up 10 again, 6, and only 20. So in those 4 losses, they gave up a combined only 46 points in 4 games. And, so the Patriots are playing pretty well right now, as long as Zappe doesn't kill them. He kind of did last week, but they still covered. Simeon 3-11 in his last 14 starts. The Jets 2-5 straight up, 1-5 and 1 ATS on the road this year. And the Pats have won 15 in a row over the Jets. They've covered in 6 straight. I got to take the Pats.
All right, so on Tuesday we'll be doing this, and so it's never too early to look at the way too early top 25 in college football after a national champion is crowned. Do we have the way too early futures odds of a college football national championship?
We do, and I'll get the ones not at the top out of the way. The Gators are 120 to 1 to win it all, and 50 to 1 to win it all.
What was that last one?
But Nebraska's 150 to 1.
Okay.
And so Georgia is the plus 400 or 4 to 1 favorite. Bama plus 550. Ohio State 7 to 1. Texas plus 850. Michigan 10 to 1. Oregon 12 to 1. LSU and Ole Miss 15 to 1. FSU 18 to 1. And Penn State and Notre Dame are 25 to 1.
Okay. All right. Well,
you want me to keep going? If we got time, I can keep going a little further.
Oh yeah, you got about a minute here.
Okay, we got A&M, Clemson, and USC are 30 to 1. Oklahoma 40 to 1. At 50 to 1, we got Mizzou, Washington, and Tennessee. K-State 60 to 1. Miami 80 to 1. And then all these at 100 to 1. Utah, Louisville, Arizona, and Auburn.
Okay.
Well, if you're,
Missouri,
you might have to win 4 games to win a national championship next year in the playoff. But
that's right.
It'll be better than these games and these playoffs that don't matter. You know, the next thing we're going to argue about is that the top 4 teams that get a bye, will they be at a disadvantage because of the teams that already played the week before?
It will depend on if the teams played the week before get banged up and injured.
Yep.
Otherwise, I wouldn't be complaining about the bye.
No. Have a good weekend and trying to figure out who's playing and who's not playing on week 18. We'll talk to you next week.
Thanks, gentlemen. Happy New Year. Appreciate it.
That's Brian Edwards, senior handicapper from VegasInsider.com. All right, that'll do it for the show. Good show, everybody. That was a lot of fun. Even Steve Sipple thought we had a good conversation.
Yeah, that was validation.
He said it live.
Walking away feeling good about that.
We'll do all this again tomorrow at 6. Crossover is coming up next on Mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone.
Live from the Host Coffee Studio, this is 1620 The Zone.
Equitable Bank. We take banking personally. EquitableOnline.com.